Hello, this is your host, Adam Graham, from Pretty Much the Present. And in this video, we'll be bringing you a compilation of old-time radio detective podcasts from 2010. The podcasts are appearing, for the most part, unedited, except for some extraneous or repetitive elements that are being removed because this is a compilation. As I said, these are old, so any websites or offers mentioned may not be valid at the time you're listening unless you find them on our website currently. Now, with that said, here is a week of old-time radio detective podcast. Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio from Boise, Idaho. This is your host, Adam Graham. Got a comment? Email me, box13@greatdetectives.net. Cast your vote for the show on Podcast Alley, podcastalley.greatdetectives.net, and become a fan of the show on Facebook, facebook.greatdetectives.net. Well, over on Facebook, folks are getting ready to go for the upcoming Candy versus Nero face-off with some pre-vote trash talk. Kathleen writes, Candy, she's our gal. She's just as cute as a button. Well, Nero there, isn't he just merely a big old glutton? We got this comment from Kim, who says that they're in favor of Nero. Heard most of Candy. Most shows are the same. And Dave says, Candy is cool, rarely a damsel in distress, sometimes rescue the heroes, wish there were more episodes. Nero is cool too, love Sidney Greenstreet. Well, I definitely don't mind a little bit of ranking as we get into it. We just always want to be clear, one show will win, one show will lose, and the show that loses will get a year and a year. And just as long as it doesn't get nasty and childish like U.S. political election. All right, well, before we do get started with today's show, I want to let you know about our sponsor. GoToMeeting is great for business people, for teachers, for those who want to reach out to the world. GoToMeeting offers a great solution. With GoToMeeting, you can have unlimited meetings for a low monthly fee. If you could use the ability to talk to people no matter where in the world they are and to save the money on travel as well as the time that is taken away through travel, then give GoToMeeting a try. Listeners to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio can try GoToMeeting out free for 45 days. Go and visit GoToMeeting.com/podcast. That's GoToMeeting.com/podcast. And now into today's episode, Speed to Burn.
Box 13, with the star of Paramount Pictures, Alan Ladd, as Dan Holliday.
Box 13, care of the Star Times. I've read your advertisement asking for adventure. I think this will be it. I'm asking you to solve an impossible situation, but one that must be solved. Next Wednesday, drive out on Route 36 at exactly noon. You'll come to a 5-mile speedometer check. Maintain a speed of 72 miles an hour over the distance. You will be passed by a 1938 car going 100 miles per hour. The car will sound its horn. When you hear it, pull over to the side and stop.
When you hear it, pull over to the side and stop. The letter had no signature, but it sounded intriguing. And it became even more so as time went on. That is, what little time there was.
And now, back to Box 13 and Dan Holliday's newest adventure, Speed to Burn.
100 miles an hour? Mr. Holliday, that's dangerous.
Yes, it is, Suzie. That's what makes this letter so interesting. I'd like to see a 1938 model to 100.
Why? Isn't it possible?
Possible, yes, but not probable.
Why not?
Susie, in the course of time, things wear out. Even a car has to give up sometime.
Oh, the letter isn't signed.
And that's another thing that tells me to take this on. An unsigned letter, a 1938 car doing 100 per, and an impossible situation that has to be solved. Now, I ask you, Susie, wouldn't that make anyone pick up his ears? At exactly noon that Wednesday, I turned into Highway 36, a long, level stretch of concrete that ribboned out in front of my car, just asking to be burned up. I looked at my speedometer. The needle hung at 60. Up ahead, I saw the first sign on the road shoulder. The sign read, "Start speedometer check here." I stepped on the accelerator and watched the needle pass 60 and move to 65. 68, then 70. Just as the nose of my car pushed over the start of the check run. In my rear-view mirror, the road in the back was clear. No cars, no traffic at all. I hit 72 miles per hour and stayed there. The road slipped by underneath, and the scenery on the side was a flashing blur of color. Then I looked in my rearview mirror again, and suddenly there it was. A car that ate up the distance between us as though we were attached by some invisible elastic that pulled us together. And then, before I knew it was past me. I pulled up and stopped. Ahead, the car that passed me slowed down, and it also stopped. Then turned around and came back toward me.
Hello.
Hello there.
Hello. You're box 13?
That's right. And you're the only jet plane pilot I know with no license.
Thank you for coming.
Not at all. I enjoyed every second of it. Hey, what do you feed that car of yours?
May I get in your car?
Oh, please do.
Thank you. I've taken a big chance in doing this, Mr.
Dan Holliday.
My name is Nancy. Nancy Peters.
That is a 1938 model you're driving. And from the looks of it, it's only a 6-cylinder job.
Yes, but I haven't much time. I'll have to talk fast.
Oh, all right, go ahead.
I want you to help my brother.
Is he the impossible situation you mentioned in your letter?
Yes. He has a prison record. And now he's mixed up in something he can't get away from. Will you help?
Oh, now, just a minute, Miss Peters. Your car may do 100 without batting a carburetor, but I work a little slower. Before I do any helping, I'd like to know the 3 W's. Who, what, and where.
Oh, I told you. It's my brother.
That answers the who part. Now, how about what and where?
Stolen cars. That's the what.
One like yours?
That has something to do with it.
Go ahead.
Tom's mixed up in a stolen car syndicate.
Syndicate? It's a business now, huh?
Bigger than anyone realizes.
Well, why doesn't he get out?
He can't. He's watched night and day. Sometimes I am, too. He didn't know what he was getting into till it was too late.
All right, I'll buy that for now. But it'll take more explanation.
Look, let's go somewhere else and talk. I just wanted to know if you'd be interested.
Well, that car of yours intrigues me. Where do you want to go?
Follow me.
If you promise not to do any stunt flying, I'll be right in back of you. More coffee, Miss Peters?
No, thanks. Are you interested, Mr. Holliday?
Yes.
All right. The syndicate looks like a legitimate business, but it's not. It's tied up with stolen car rackets in every city in the country.
In which case, it's an item for the police, or better for the FBI. I suggest you go to them.
I can't do that. My brother would be sent back to prison.
Well, then let him quit.
One man tried it. He was killed.
How do you know?
Tom told me. Mr. Holliday, I don't know who's at the head of the syndicate. I don't know anything about it, but you can find out and help Tom.
And how do I do this?
Will you do it?
Well, I don't know, Miss Peters. Tell me, how did your brother get into this racket?
He's a mechanic. He started to work at the Acme filling station, and it wasn't long before he was offered a job as a mechanic in a big garage in town. Before he knew it, he was in the racket and afraid to go to the police.
Did he try?
Once. Then he saw he was followed. He didn't try again. Not after the other man was killed.
What can I do?
Get a job at the Acme filling station. It was from there that Tom went to the syndicate.
Now, look, Miss Peters, your brother's a mechanic. I'm not. I know just about enough to repair minor injuries. That's all.
That's enough. They need men. The syndicate's getting bigger.
And you want me to increase their organization by 1? namely Dan Holliday.
I'll pay you $1,000 if you do.
Oh, no, I don't want any money. This Acme filling station. Where is it?
12902 Braddock Road.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll see what I can do, but no promises. Meanwhile, how do I get in touch with you?
Well, here's my name, address, and telephone number.
Okay, Miss Peters. But like I said, no promises. I'd just like to nose around first and see what trouble I can get into. I left Nancy Peters and drove back to the city, got into some old clothes, and took a bus out to Braddock Road. The Acme filling station did business on a three-way corner. From what I could see, it was a good business. I watched for a while until I spotted a man I thought was the boss. I waited until business cooled off a little, then walked over to him.
Hello. Do something for you?
I don't know. Depends on how badly you need help here.
Help? You looking for a job?
Yeah, yes I am.
I saw you standing on the opposite corner looking over here. Thought maybe you was planning a holdup.
No, thanks. That's getting money the hard way. But I saw you hopping around here and figured you could use some help.
I don't know. Know anything about cars?
Oh, a little.
Enough to do minor repairs?
Sure.
Let me see your hands. Hold them out.
Huh?
Just hold them out. You ain't done much hard work in your life, have you?
Oh, not recently, no.
Well, don't think I can use you, bub.
But I need a job.
Try someplace else.
Okay. I was just asking.
What's the matter?
Got a phone here. I want to make a call.
Inside. Why?
I just want to make a call, that's all.
Okay, inside, I told you.
It was a hunch, and I played it. The car that drove up was a police car, and I pretended to be afraid of it. I waited inside until the car drove out. Then the boss came in.
Make your call okay?
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. Better make that call all of a sudden, didn't you?
I just thought of it.
Oh, sure.
Well, I'll see you later.
Wait a minute. Sit down.
What for?
Maybe we can talk. Wait a second.
What's the idea of closing the door?
We can talk better. Why'd you do a fade when you saw that police car?
I didn't see any police car.
Quit kidding, Bub. You saw it coming and pulled that phony call routine. You hot?
Look, all I did was ask you for a job. Thanks for your time and so long.
Now, take it easy. Sit down again. What's your name?
Make it Holiday, Dan Holiday.
That sounds phony enough. You want a job?
A minute ago, you were tight about that. Now you loosen up. Why?
I like to help people.
Uh-huh. Got a kind face.
You want a job or not?
Doing what?
Handling the pumps, working on the grease rack, lubrication, wash rack, maybe doing some repair work now and then. How about it?
Sounds like a full-time job.
That's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exactly what I want.
Well, pick up some coveralls in the lockers out back. You start as of now.
So I went to work. And I learned about cars. I rented a room near the station at night, read books on automotive repairs. And I waited. Waited for the next move, which came one morning just after I'd reported for work.
Holiday. Hey, Dan.
Yeah?
Come inside a minute, will you?
Right away.
Pull the door shut.
What's the trouble?
No trouble at all. You know, you're getting to be a pretty good mechanic.
Well, I learned fast.
There's not quite enough work around here for a good mechanic. I thought maybe you'd like to make more dough.
Do I get a raise?
Not from me. But I can send you to somebody who needs mechanics. Needs them bad.
Thanks. Who's the guy and where is he?
You go to 714 South Elm, to the Southern Auto Works. And here, give him this card.
So, you're the guy Marty sends along, huh?
That's right. He gave me this card to give you.
Yeah. Okay. My name is Mike. Follow me.
Sure. Kind of busy in here, aren't you?
We keep going. Hey, this way.
I can see why Marty says you need mechanics.
Yeah, you can always use a good one. People crack up their cars or do a million things. Here, go in this door. Good luck, fella.
Have a chair, Holiday.
Oh, thank you.
So you're a mechanic.
Well, that's what Marty says.
And you live at 678 Bender Avenue, and you do a lot of reading at night. I know a lot about you, Dan, more than you think I do.
Like what?
Like the fact that you're a little shy of cops.
I'm not afraid of them.
I didn't say that. I said shy. Say like a guy who's just put in a little time would be. Now, don't be afraid, Dan. There's nothing to be afraid of.
Look, I took the job at Marty's place because I needed it. But I don't have to be needled by you or anybody else. Maybe I did a stretch. And again, maybe I didn't. It's got nothing to do with the job. So long, Mr. Swanson.
Stay right where you are.
What's the idea?
No idea, Dan. I'm just in need of good mechanics. Marty tells me you're pretty good. Not top-notch, but good enough. Okay, you want a job here?
Doing what?
Automotive repairs. What else?
That's what I asked. What else?
My, you're suspicious. Look, you can take the job or not as you like. Pay you $75 a week on a percentage basis for anything over that in time and work.
I'd look like a chump if I turned that down.
That's right. So I guess you're in, huh?
Like you say, Mr. Swanson. I'm in.
And now back to Speed to Burn, another Box 13 adventure with Alan Ladd as Dan Holliday.
Like I said, I was in. But in what? It looked like a legitimate business. The big garage did a roaring trade, and it seemed on the level. Mike, the man who took me to Swanson's office, stuck close to me, so I had no chance to snoop around. Then one day I was called into Swanson's office.
Well, Dan, everything all right?
As far as I know, everything's fine. Why?
Got any objections to working at night?
No, not at all. As long as the pay is time and a half.
It's better than that. It's double.
Special job?
Yeah, you might call it that. How good are you at keeping your mouth closed?
Well, I'm not the talkative type.
I suppose you know you've had a tail on you ever since you've worked here.
No. No, I didn't know. What's the idea of that?
Well, you're an ex-con.
I thought that was gone by the boards, forgotten.
It is. But it's a funny thing. I've had a checkmate on you, and I can't find a record of any Dan Holliday serving time anyplace. Got anything to say?
Nothing, except maybe you looked under the wrong name.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Anyway, you've been watched, and so far you're clean.
Look, Mr. Swanson, you got me in here to talk about overtime work. Then you switched to my record. What's your pitch?
Come around tonight at 10 o'clock, the back way.
Just suppose I say no.
Mike's a big guy. Maybe he could persuade you.
Oh, I see. In other words, now that I'm in, I'm really in.
In what, Dan?
Maybe you can answer that better than I can.
Maybe I can. Be here tonight at 10, the back entrance. Mike will see that you get here. Until then, so long, Dan.
Well, it was a tight spot. I couldn't tell whether Swanson knew anything or not. I hadn't made a move to contact Nancy Peters or her brother Tom. But that night I was to be at the garage at 10 o'clock. At 9:30, Mike came to get me, and 20 minutes later took me down in an elevator, down into the cellar below the big garage. And what I saw made me blink my eyes. Brother, this was a racket on a big scale.
Put your eyes back in your head, Dan. You ain't seen a half of it yet.
Hey, what is this?
The part of the garage nobody sees but them as has business here. Take a good look.
Must be 50 cars in here.
Uh-huh. And all hot.
Stolen?
They ain't presents. If you give them an hour in here, their owners wouldn't know them from a bicycle. Come on, we'll see Swanson.
Come in. Okay, Dan, come on in. Mike, see that things are running all right.
Sure. See you later, Dan.
Well, how do you like it, Dan?
I don't know what I'm supposed to like, but it's big.
And you're in it.
What if I don't want to be?
Oh, and you're a chump. Big pay, no Social Security or withholding tax, and no questions.
Look, I don't want to serve any more time.
You won't. We take care of our boys. Now, look, I need another mechanic badly. There are enough hot cars floating in here in the next 2 weeks to make yourself a pile of dough.
Yeah, but Mr. Swanson...
Holiday. You haven't got a choice. Either take the job or you'll never work again. Any place, any time.
I guess you're calling the turns, Mr. Swanson.
Take it easy. You'll be safe.
Until there's a leak.
There's no leaks here. We're big enough to have our own police force to watch the men who work for us, understand?
Yeah, I think I do. Okay, Mr. Swanson, you've got yourself another boy. And from then on, I was watched closer than all the gold in Fort Knox. It was over a week later that I finally made contact with Tom Peters. Mike took me to him because Tom was to break me in on a new job.
Mike wants you to work on the jalopies, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. I'm Tom Peters. I know you're Dan Holliday.
Yeah. What do I do?
Well, we got 10 hot cars rolling in tonight. They got to be pulled apart for shipping out tomorrow.
That's a little fast, isn't it?
That's nothing. One night we put out 18. Come here. See this paint?
Yeah. Special stuff, huh?
That's right. Washes off with caustic soda. Plain water won't touch it, only caustic soda. We spray a coat of this stuff on the car.
And then what? What about the license plates?
You kidding? Look here. Over 500 license plates from different states. With a new paint job, different plates, even different tires, you wouldn't be able to recognize your own car if you sat in it.
I see. Pretty tight organization, isn't it?
Brother, you don't know how tight. Make a bad move and you're material for a hearse. Well, here to work on the manufacturer's numbers.
Serial numbers of the motors, huh?
Manufacturer's numbers. Never in the same place twice. Sometimes it's in the carburetor, sometimes in the block. Any one of a dozen different places.
I see. And you tear down the engine, get rid of the number, and there's no chance left for positive identification of the car.
Right. Okay, start tearing this baby down. It's got to roll out on the street by midnight. Let's go to work.
And I worked. And all the while I did, I knew I was being watched. And I think I was even followed when I went home. For 3 nights we kept at it. There wasn't a chance to break loose. Then on the 4th night, Tom Peters came over to me.
Shake loose from that job, Dan. We got a special to do.
Special? Okay, what is it?
Look here.
Are you kidding? It's got to be a hot car.
No, it's not. What's it look like?
Like a broken down model of 10 years ago. Who wants a crate like this?
Wait a minute. Now, take a look under that hood.
Look at that power plant.
The engine's from a British tank. There's enough power under that hood to make this baby climb right up the side of a building.
I don't get it. Why put that motor in this old job?
Look underneath. At the springs.
The springs are upside down.
Sure, for a low center of gravity. And the body of the crate's lined with armor plate. And it's got bulletproof glass throughout.
What are these things inside? Oh, extra gas tanks.
This is a getaway car, special built. We parked this in front of a bank and no cop would take a second look at it. But no other car made can get near it for speed or power.
Now that's real neat. Well, looks like the boys think of everything, don't they?
They don't miss.
You know, I'll bet anyone could take a 1938 car and hop it up with one of these motors.
Sure, why not? Year don't make no difference.
Even a girl could drive one.
Sure, why?
One her brother put together for her before he got into this racket.
Girl? 1938? What'd you say that for?
Take it easy, Tom.
What are you driving at?
Nancy, your sister?
What about her?
She got me in here to get you out.
Oh, look, she's crazy. You're crazy. This is a tight box.
You want to get out?
Cut it out, Dan. You're asking for trouble.
Look, together we can break this racket.
Look, there's not a chance.
Hold it. Here comes Mike.
Hey, what are you guys gabbing for?
Just looking over this job, Mike. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Well, get it in shape. Some of the boys want it for a heist job tonight. You got an hour to work it over.
Heist job?
Yeah. They're knocking over a bank.
Okay, help me, Tom, and I'll help you when we get out of this.
Listen, don't you think I'd have made a break before now? They got me going and coming.
Then I'll do it.
They're watching you every minute.
That's the chance I have to take. Where's your lunch pail?
Lunch pail? Have you gone nuts?
Just give it to me. You drink coffee, don't you?
Sure. With cream and sugar. You happy now?
Tom, that makes me very happy. Later that night, when I was through working, I left the garage. I tried to phone Nancy Peters 3 times, but she was out. The last time, I left a message for her to meet me in the lobby of a movie. I went there hoping I'd shaken my shadow off my trail. Fortunately, she got my message. And I told her to call the FBI, to give them the address of the garage, 714 South Elm, and to make it fast because there was no time to lose. Then I walked out of the lobby and into the street. I looked back. Nancy Peters was going toward a phone booth in the theater lobby. I was about to walk to my room when...
Enjoy the picture, Holiday?
Mike.
Yeah, Mike. Funny about you. You bought a ticket, walked in, talked with that dame, came right out again.
I remembered I'd seen the movie before.
Sure. Who was the dame?
What are you talking about?
The dame. Who was she? What did you say to her?
Look, Mike, that's my personal business.
Then it's mine, too. She went to a phone booth inside.
Can I help it if some girl wants to use a phone?
Yeah, I figure you can. Now, come on. We're going to Swanson.
All right, Dan, who was the girl? What'd you say?
I never saw her before in my life.
Just a chance acquaintance, huh?
You could call it that.
You're lying.
All right, you know everything.
Not quite, but I... Wait a minute. Suppose your name is Dan Holliday.
Suppose it is.
I got an idea. Sit still while I look through the phone book. Funny, I never thought of this before. Let's see. Holliday Dan. Well, you're in the phone book. There's only one Dan Holliday.
That makes me unique among the Hollidays. What does it make you?
Not a sucker, Holliday. Sit still, make a move, and I'll make a nice round hole in your head with this. Now we'll see.
Kenworth Apartments.
Mr. Dan Holliday, please.
Mr. Holliday isn't in.
Oh? Is he out of town, do you know?
Who's calling, please?
An old friend, Mr. Swanson.
Oh, well, Mr. Swanson, Mr. Holliday's been gone for almost 2 weeks.
Is that so? Well, thank you. Thank you very much. You've been gone 2 weeks, Holliday. It just about ties in with the time you've been here.
Okay, Swanson, so I'm in the phone book, and you found out I'm not at my apartment. What does that prove?
That's what I'm going to find out. And if I...
Boss, there's a raid coming our way. The tip-off boys just flashed the red.
All right, move the hot cars out back. Get all you can. Notify all branches we're shipping a load tonight. Tell the drivers to take the ones that aren't ready and run them in the river. Right. Holliday, you're going with me. Get going.
Is that dirty pink do the job?
Yeah, come on. Getaway car in shape?
Yeah, it's all set.
Now, Holliday, you're going to see why we're never caught.
What's wrong, Mr. Swanson?
We have a stoolie with us, Peters.
Stoolie? But...
That's right, Peters. A stoolie.
Clear out. There's a raid coming. Mike, warm up the car.
Sure. Yeah, she's okay. Nothing to worry about.
In, Holliday. Get in.
Okay, you're the boss.
Let's go, Mike. Up the ramp.
Right. There they are.
Play with them, Mike. Let Holliday see how good we really are.
But, boss!
You heard me. Let them almost catch up to us. And Holliday, don't duck when you hear shooting. They can't touch us in this. Besides, I want to save you for myself.
They're right on our taillight, boss.
They might as well be using pea shooters.
Never get off the stage, Swanson.
Now, show them what we can do, Mike. Get away.
Yeah.
See, Holliday, they're almost standing still. Okay, Mike, head for the state line.
Hey, something's gone haywire.
What's the matter? You said this car was in shape.
Yeah, it was.
Get going, you idiot.
Can't get me started. The engine's going dead.
Run on the curb. We'll make a run for it. Pull in, Mike. Pull in.
Oh, no, you don't.
Hey, Mike, help me.
You dirty rat, you.
Gee, you're all right, aren't you, Mr. Holliday?
Oh, sure, Suzie. Just some minor cuts and bruises.
What happened?
Well, Mr. Swanson took his eyes off me for a second. That was enough. I grabbed his gun.
Jeepers. But what happened to the car?
Suzie, put enough sugar in the gas tank of any car and it'll give up and die real soon. You see, it clogs the feed line.
Oh.
I took the sugar from Tom's lunch pail.
Now, that was real smart. But how did you know you were going to be in the car?
Well, I didn't. I planned to wreck the bank job. But as they say in books, sometimes things work out differently. And for the best.
What about Tom Peters?
He's all right. He was roped in. Fear made him stay. Hey, Suzie, how about some coffee?
Oh, sure. Right here. Cream?
Thanks.
Sugar?
Lots of it, Suzie. Lots of it. I just love sugar.
Listen in again next week when, through the courtesy of Paramount Pictures, Alan Ladd stars as Dan Holliday in Box 13. Box 13 is directed by Richard Sandville, with this week's story written by Albert Wagner from an original story by Bernard Fine. Original music is composed and conducted by Rudy Schrager, and the part of Suzie is played by Sylvia Picker. Vern Karstensen is in charge of production. This is a Mayfair production from Hollywood. Watch for Alan Ladd in his latest Paramount picture.
Welcome back. Well, there was an unmistakable guest voice. This is one of the games you have to play with Box 13. It was Gerald Moore, a.k.a. Philip Marlowe. We heard earlier this year in an episode of Let George Do It. He was a great character actor in radio, in addition to that Marlowe role. I've also heard him in episodes of Night Beat and Broadway is My Beat. Of course, this was a somewhat convenient end. That Holiday is saved because he just happened to sabotage the car that was used for the escape. These type of conveniences led Andrew to comment in regarding an episode 2 weeks ago, The Dead Man Walks. In the movie Murder by Death, there's a monologue at the end complaining about mystery writers' cheap tricks to further the plot. This story belongs there. A character is said to have reported to his parole officer after being seen dead. He reported by phone. Sorry, that's a cheap shot. If Holiday had been told it was a phone call, he'd have jumped all over it. I know to expect a certain license in these stories. This was just a little more than they usually require. Am I the only one who noticed it? This is a fair point. Mystery writers often have to have a little bit of a cheap trick in there. And there are a wide variety of reasons. Some of it may be that the writer, the first thing they thought of was the perfect crime. And they make the crime so perfect that they need just some dumb luck to help them be able to catch it. There was one episode of Collegio that stands out in my mind. It departed from the usual formula where we see the murder and we have Collegio and the killer in a battle of wits. Here, in this particular movie, it was a whodunit, and the end was not satisfying. The way he caught the killer was he took the Commodore's watch, who had been killed. The Commodore's watch had been broken, and he took the Commodore's watch up to each person's ear, and he said, "The Commodore's watch," to each person. And the one who said, "'Tis it," knew the Commodore's watch had been broken, and therefore that was the killer. Now, the person had the presence of mind to plan the crime, but not to get around that. So there's always some bit of trickery you have to use as a mystery writer. But sometimes I think everyone who's been a fan of mysteries has seen a twist and gone, "Oh, come on." So whether people did that with a particular episode, I think every mystery fan's been there. Got a vote here from Heritage Lady, just checking in again to vote for August. Thanks so much. Before we get started, I want to let you know about our sponsors. If you like the flexibility to live your life and do the things that are important to you, you'll like GoToMeeting. With GoToMeeting's conferencing solutions, you can meet virtually with clients and business partners and reduce the cost associated with doing business. GoToMeeting is from Citrix, the makers of the trusted GoToMyPC product. Like GoToMyPC, it's simple to use and doesn't require you to learn new technology. Listeners to the great detectives of old-time radio can try GoToMeeting free for 45 days. For the special offer, visit GoToMeeting.com/podcast. That's GoToMeeting.com/podcast to start your free trial. Now it's time for The Two Little Sisters on Jeff Regan.
My name's Regan. I work for Anthony J. Lyon, International Detective Bureau. They call me the Lion's Eye.
Jeff Regan, Investigator, starring Frank Graham as Regan with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. So stand by for mystery, suspense, and adventure in tonight's story of The Two Little Sisters.
When a 6-foot, 200-pound guy turns up with a knife in his back, maybe a short 100 pounds of cool green-eyed blonde did it. And maybe she didn't. Well, this time there were two blondes, sisters. They looked alike, but they were about as much alike as a sheepdog and a cobra. Goes to show you can't tell by the package. Their names were Zemansky, Mary and Dolly Zemansky. They worked for the Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows. It was old Happy Pastime himself who was sitting in the Lyon's office when I got there about noon.
Gypsy, my boy, glad you've come in. I'd like you to meet our new client, proprietor of the Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows. No doubt you've heard of them, Jeffrey?
Sure. How are you?
Laryngitis? Yeah, our friend here is troubled with laryngitis, Jeffrey. Purely psychological. A result of worry, profound worry. Isn't that right, sir? Yes. Yes. Well, Jeffrey...
What do we do?
Now, Jeffrey, I'm glad you asked that question. To tell the truth, I envy you. Fine opportunity for you to get out of the city while I sit here sweltering in this heat. You, Jeffrey...
Get to the point.
Well, yes. Well, Jeffrey, the fact is our friend here leaves on the 2 o'clock plane for Phoenix, Arizona. Advance arrangements for the carnival.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Well, meantime, the star performer of Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows, a girl named... Oh, now where's that piece of paper? I jotted it down. Oh, here we are. Dolly Zamansky, the queen of the blades.
Ice skater?
Knife thrower.
Oh, I get it.
She's a knife thrower with the show, Jeffrey. Best in a line, they say.
Well, what's the trouble?
That's just it. Someone's been threatening her, a man named Rand. It's upsetting her, Jeffrey. Beginning to show in her work. That's what worries our client here.
What's Rand got on her?
Well, I don't know, Jeffrey. Our client doesn't know. Isn't that right, sir? Yes. Yeah, but we'll retain to find out. And get rid of him. Exactly, get rid of him. Get rid of him, Jeffrey.
Like the Lion said, it was a chance to get out of the city. I drove Father Time back out to his carnival. He had to pick up his stuff and then make the 2 o'clock plane at International Airport. The carnival was set up on a couple of vacant lots out on Sepulveda. Big sign, Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows. Tents, trailers, Ferris wheels, sawdust, the usual stuff. The old guy pointed out Dolly Zamansky's trailer, and I was on my own. I didn't get far. A guy in a 1922 tux, 3 days whiskers, and a turban like a second-hand bird's nest stopped me.
Oh, there. How do you do, sir?
The only legitimate thing about the Swami was his breath. That was 90 proof.
You are Regan.
What's that to you?
I am Swami Al-Kaji. Step this way, please, into my tent. I will consult the crystal. The crystal ball tells me many things.
Yeah? Like what?
Sit right here, Mr. Regan.
Thanks.
The crystal ball tells me, Mr. Regan, that you've been hired to help Dolly Zamansky. Tells me you have been hired by... by the owner of our little carnival.
How much of that did he tell you?
Yes, Mr. Regan, it was he who told me. I saw you arrive together.
What do you know about Rand?
Fred Rand, let me see. Yes, let me see. The crystal ball is cloudy. The sand of time runs through the glass, Mr. Regan.
Cut it out.
What do you mean?
You're a Swami like Truman's a Republican.
Yes, true. Yes. Well, have a drink, Mr. Regan. I see much more in this than in the crystal ball. Yes. Say when.
When?
Here you are.
Thanks.
I'm a four-finger man myself, Mr. Regan. Been my ruin.
You said you had information.
Yes, there are 2 sisters.
Zamansky?
Yes, Dolly and Mary.
Who's married?
The younger sister.
She new to the show?
A few months with us.
Her sister get her the job?
Yes, Dolly Zamansky's our star performer. Naturally, she has influence.
Okay. What about Rand?
I will consult the crystal ball.
Look, I don't get paid by the hour. What's Rand got on Dolly Zamansky?
I don't know.
No?
I see letters forming in the crystal.
Okay. Play it your way.
F, Z. I can't see any more now. Perhaps if you'd care
see you
to...
later.
Mr. Regan, Mr. Regan!
Maybe the Swami had something to sell. But if I couldn't get it for free, I could go back and buy it later. It was only a little ways to Dolly Zamansky's trailer. Big, expensive job. Everything was wide open because of the heat, so I walked in. Nobody home. Ladies' clothes lying around, theatrical makeup, grease paint stick. Picture of some round-faced guy with a crew cut signed, "Yours adoringly," no name. Knives and daggers around. And a frosty blonde with green eyes in the doorway watching me.
What's
are you doing in here?
Homework?
That's clever.
Who are you?
That's what I ought to ask you.
I'll guess. You're Dolly Zemansky.
No, I'm her sister.
Mary Zemansky.
Yes.
I'm Jeff Regan, International Detective Bureau.
You're a detective?
That's it. You joined the carnival about 4 months ago.
5 months.
5 months. Been in show business before?
No, I was a boy back home, but I...
That him?
What?
Photo on the dressing table.
No. Sister Pine.
Pine?
He's in love with my sister.
Pine. Pine, don't I?
Harold Pine. J.J. Pine's son.
Yeah?
You know, Pine warehouses. They're all over Los Angeles.
So your sister's going to marry them?
I think so.
But maybe she isn't.
Mr. Regan,
Supposing you give me what you know. About 4 days ago, a guy turned up, Rand.
Yes.
Your sister scare easy?
No, Mr. Regan, that's just it. She's strong-minded. She left home when she was 15.
Go on.
Well, life can't have been easy for her, you know, show business.
Just tell it.
Well, she's independent, Mr. Regan. I've tried to tell her...
What about Rand?
Mr. Regan, I can't tell you.
Lady, I've got a job to do. What about Rand?
I don't know.
Your sister scared of him?
She
is or she isn't?
It's something else. She told me she didn't know him. She said he was trying to get fresh, but twice I shouldn't tell you this.
My fee says I help your sister.
All right. There's a little street 2 blocks up Sepulveda. Twice I walked by there this morning and 2 days ago. There was a green sedan parked there both times, and Fred Rand and my sister were in it. They seemed to be arguing. Mr. Regan, that's all I know.
Okay. How do I find your sister?
She performs in the main tent, but she must be just about through. She might be over there.
Okay. See you. I started for the main tent and got about halfway up the midway when he passed me, going down the midway, and into the big shiny trailer. Broad-shouldered, 6-foot guy with red hair. And when he went into the Zemansky sister's trailer, I knew he was Rand. I started for the trailer. I thought I heard voices quarreling. And then I knew something was wrong. That was Mary Zemansky screaming. I hadn't had my eye off the door of that trailer 60 seconds since I left. Nobody went in but Rand. Nobody came out. But I busted fast. I made the last 100 yards like Mel Patton on Dexedrine. But what I saw when I got inside that trailer stopped me cold. It was Mary Zemansky and Rand. But it wasn't like I figured. Mary was hanging onto the wall and staring down at the floor, sobbing. And on the floor was Rand, with a knife in his back. All right, give it to me. Give it to me fast.
No!
What happened? Come on.
No, I can't tell you. I can't.
Look, you've got 10 seconds before the whole carnival will be in here. What happened? Tell me what happened.
I won't talk. I won't talk.
All right, both of you stand back at the end of the trailer.
Who are you?
Sergeant Post, police. Hands above your heads.
All right.
Clear away now. Clear back, folks. You, Dolly Zemansky?
No, I'm her sister, Mary Zemansky.
Your turn, mister.
Maybe we can take our hands down?
You armed?
Yeah.
Where till I get it? Hip?
Shoulder.
Okay. Let him down.
Thanks.
Got a permit to carry this?
Sure.
Show it.
Regan, private detective, International Detective Bureau. Here's the file copy.
Look good, Regan. You kill this guy? Okay, Regan. Well, maybe you'll tell me who the guy was.
His name was Fred Rand.
That check, Regan?
What I heard.
Maybe you knew Rand, Regan.
Nope.
How'd you get in here so quick?
Heard screams.
Sure.
Oh, what's the use of all this? You both know what happened.
No, what did?
Mr. Rand came in here and he'd been bothering Dolly. Maybe he thought I was Dolly. We look a little bit alike. And he came in
And? Go on.
He struggled. And I killed him.
It hung together like the Jap Navy. She was sore at Rand because he'd been bothering her sister, so when the big 6-foot guy came into the trailer, she grabbed him and stabbed him in the back. Sure, it could have happened like that. But from the look that came on Sergeant Post's face, I could see he'd try to make it stick. He looked like a hungry kid at a bakery window. He was seeing lieutenant stripes. Half an hour later, Mary went off for the ride downtown in the paddy wagon. I figured it was a funny thing Dolly Zemansky hadn't showed up. I decided to look for her. She wasn't around. She'd finished her act a little bit before the ruckus started, and it looked like nobody had seen her since. Then I saw a tent with some stars and crescent moons painted on the front, and that reminded me of something. A phony Swami with information for sale. He was inside. All right, Swami, get busy on that crystal ball and dish up some answers.
Yes.
Like FZ.
Ah, yes, the letters FZ. The crystal is clearly...
Oh, clear it. It's a murder rap now. FZ what?
Ah.
Rand.
Yes, Mr. Regan.
Fred Rand.
Mrs. Fred Zemansky Rand.
Dolly Zemansky was his wife. Now you've said something. That gave me something to work on, but halfway to my car, I remembered something else. Something Mary Zemansky had said. A green sedan parked twice in the same place. Maybe it was parked there a third time. It figured the owner wouldn't be driving it away. He was taking a free ride as a guest of the county, to the morgue. It was there, green sedan, on the little street 2 blocks up Sepulveda. The door was unlocked. The registration on the steering post read, Fred Rand. That figured. The address was on a street called Delancey in San Francisco. But maybe I wouldn't have to go that far. There was a card down on the floorboards. One of those commercial hotel cards. Globe Hotel, Main Street. I stuck it in my pocket. That was when a guy said,
I'm gonna kill you, Fred Rand.
I hit the car door with my shoulder. That knocked him back, but he came in again and tried for me. I blocked it.
Why, you...
That was when I got a good look at him. He was the guy in the picture in the Zemansky sisters' trailer. Yours adoringly, Harold Pine. I'd like to have stuck around and had a little talk with Harold Pine. Maybe knew some answers. But one answer he didn't know was who killed Fred Rand. When he made that college try on me and called me Rand, it didn't take the FBI to figure he didn't even know Rand was dead. But it looked like Pine was going to be asleep a while, so I went downtown. The Globe Hotel. Last stop on the line for the canned heat crowd. Brass spittoons. Row of cracked leather chairs along the front. 2 or 3 old guys dying in them. Nobody at the desk, so I picked up number 306 from the register and went up. The door wasn't locked. Inside, you could see why. Nothing in the joint but a brass bed. Cardboard suitcase on a chair with a couple of neckties in it. Fred Rand had been traveling white. But there was something else in the suitcase stuck in the lining. Item torn out of the Weekly Variety, the show business sheet. It said a couple of knife throwers named Duncan and Dolly had checked out of Las Vegas for work at a spot called the Blue Dolphin Casino, Los Angeles. The date line was half torn off, but you could make out the 46 at the end. There was a phone on the wall, and I tried the Blue Dolphin Casino. There was nobody home. Too early for a night spot. So I decided to let the Lyon work on that one.
International Detective Bureau, Anthony J. Lyon, President speaking.
Lyon, I've got something for you to...
Jeffrey, I'm glad you called. I just talked to the proprietor of the Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows from Phoenix.
So we're off the job.
Well, now, Jeffrey, what can we expect? We were retained to get rid of that fellow Rand, to relieve Miss Dolly Zemansky of any undue nervous stress that might endanger the box office value of her performance.
Go on.
Now, Jeffrey, it just seems that, the sister did the job for us.
Sure she did.
Jeffrey, I don't think I understand you.
You can understand this. This job we stick on.
Jeffrey, be reasonable. The matter's in the hands of the police.
They got the wrong goose.
What's that?
I don't think she stabbed a 6-foot guy in the back. I think somebody pitched the strike out in through the window.
Dolly Zemansky?
Maybe. I think that's what her sister thinks. I think that's why she confessed.
Oh, I see what you're driving at now. We're defending the innocent again. We're not in business for money, are we, Regan? Why should we be with the world full of poor unfortunates waiting to be helped?
Cut it out.
Regan, from now on, if you want to work for charity, you work alone. You're fired.
That's the only good news I've had all day. I checked out of Rand's hotel the same way I went in. When I was crossing the street, I saw somebody coming up the other sidewalk. My high school geometry told me that if I walked fast enough, I could get opposite where my car was parked the same time she did. Okay, come on.
Go
Come on,
me.
sister. Get in the car.
Can't do this to me.
You're Dolly Zamansky, and I'm doing it. Get in there. And stay still. I don't like you, Dolly.
How do you know my name?
You look like your sister.
Mary?
Mary.
Who are you?
Never mind.
Well, where are you taking me?
A ride up Hill Street. There's a place to park above Temple. There's a nice view of the city jail.
Jail?
That's right, jail. All right, there. Like I said, there's a good view.
What's the pitch, Regan?
How'd you get back?
The Regan? It's on the steering post.
You got good eyes.
Thanks, honey.
I didn't say that way.
So you don't love me. What's the pitch?
See that building down there? It's the city jail. Do you know who's in it?
No!
It's your sister.
Mary?
Mary.
Why?
She says she killed a guy named Fred Rand.
Fred Rand?
Never heard of Fred Rand, then. Then why were you going to the Globe Hotel? You never heard of that either. Talk, Williams. Okay, I will. You get the Pine warehouses on the hook. It looks good, but there's just one thing wrong. Fred Rand. You're married to him. The guy turns up. Maybe he heard about Harold Pine. He blackmails you.
Okay, he blackmails me, so what?
So you want to get rid of him. You come back from your act this afternoon with the knives in your hands. You get near the trailer. The window's open. You see Rand inside arguing with his sister. That must have been an easy pitch for the star of the show. Your sister's locked up down there on a murder rap to cover you, and you got nothing to say. Okay. I got nothing on you. Not now. But you'll talk. Later. Now get out. I got business. That gave me nothing, so I went down to the jail to try to see Mary Zamansky again. It took me an hour to find out I wasn't going to get to her. But I did find out one thing. That cop had done his job well. Mary had signed a written confession to the murder of Rand. I got in my car and bucked traffic out to Ventura Boulevard. I hit a gas station and checked the address of the Blue Dolphin. It was in Encino. That meant it was near the carnival and I could pick it up later. Everybody's happy pastime was doing peak business by the time I got there. The Midway was lit up like a sailor on shore leave. But where I went, it was dark. Out in back of the Zamansky sister's trailer, maybe I could pick up some proof that Dolly Zamansky pitched that night that killed Rand. I tripped over a tent rope and bumped into something. Wait a minute. Who are you?
I'm Porky.
Come on out in the light.
Yes, sir.
You're Pine.
Yes, sir, I'm Pine. Harold Pine. But they call me Porky. Porcupine. I reckon you could say it's a sort of a joke. Porcupine? It started when I was in college.
Yeah. My name's Regan, private detective.
Oh, I owe you an apology, Mr. Regan. At the car.
Skip it.
I thought you were Fred Rand.
Why were you gunning for him?
Fred Rand? Calls her Dolly.
Dolly Zamansky. You're going to marry her, aren't you?
Well,
What's on your mind?
Well, now that there's been a murder...
Go on.
I think I better tell the truth.
Good idea.
You asked me if I was going to marry Dolly. Well, I am married to her. San Bernardino. Last Thursday. My father, J.J. Pine, reckons, Mr. Regan, because of the family money...
Sure. You couldn't have married Dolly Zamansky. She was married to Fred Rand.
Not for 3 years.
Huh?
They was divorced, Mr. Regan.
You know that?
Well, Dolly had the decree. How else could we have got a marriage license?
Did you see the divorce decree?
Oh, yes, sir.
When was it granted?
1946.
Month, you remember?
Yes, October.
Day?
Well, Mr. Regan, I don't see
what... What day?
October 14th, 1946.
October 14th, 1946. Okay.
Well, Mr. Regan, I don't understand.
Rand showed up again, huh?
Yes, sir.
So you decided to kill him?
He was molesting Dolly.
Sure.
Well, maybe I'd just beat him up.
You're a kid, Pine.
Maybe I am.
You're keeping bad company.
I don't think so.
Who do you think knifed Fred Rand?
I don't rightly know.
What were you looking for in back of that trailer?
Nothing. I didn't think of anything.
You know Dolly's sister, Mary?
I do?
You think she killed Fred Rand?
No.
Then who did?
I don't know.
Okay, Pine. You didn't, anyway.
Well, maybe I was just pretending I didn't know he was dead when I fought with you at his car.
No, Porky. You're not that smart.
Mr. Regan, I reckon that's so.
Next stop was the Blue Dolphin Casino. The manager wasn't there, so I waited around. Must have been almost midnight before he showed.
My bartender tells me you're looking for me.
You're the manager, I am.
You bought it. In here.
You book acts?
Used to.
You ever hear of Duncan and Dolly? Knife throwers?
Did they ever play us?
1946. Maybe, October?
I could look it up.
Okay.
Over here. Files, over here.
Plenty of cheesecake on the wall.
Oh, those pictures? Acts that have played us.
Yeah?
Yeah. Autograph photos. The Mandy boy, Mandy is me, we're just scared to love. Dimples Davis. Dimples. You see what I mean?
Yeah. See what you mean.
October 1946?
Could be.
No. Hey, wait a second. Last week of September. 26th through the 29th. Last week of September 1946, Duncan and Dolly...
Let me see that. Dolly Zemansky and Harry Duncan, King and Queen of the Blades. Split week booking, September 26th to 29th, 1946.
I'm thinking King and Queen of the Blades. Wait a second. Behind this locker. Yeah, photos all over the place. I'm just remembering. We keep the leg on out where you can see it, but this stuff you see... Yeah, like I'm remembering. The Mandys, sincerely, King and Queen of the Blades, Duncan and Dolly.
Let me see that picture.
Yeah. You recognize them?
Yeah, both of them. Dolly and Duncan.
Yeah? What'd it get you?
It gets me my answer. I made it fast back to the carnival. The midway was closed, but I could see a light on in one of the tents. I could hear voices.
That's no good, two-bit. You're a shite. Oh, that's no good.
But when I walked in, the light went off.
Duncan. The lights back on.
They told me where they were. I started. Slow. I waited.
Duncan, don't. Put that knife down. Duncan's enough, man, was enough!
All right, Duncan, I'm coming. The knife went past, took some air that belonged to me, and stuck in the tent pole. He shoved the table at me, and I shoved it back. He made a try for the tent door, and that was when I got in. Turn the lights on, Dolly. Harry Duncan, a phony swami.
It's a rat.
You should talk.
He okay?
You'll come out of it.
He killed Rand, thought I'd take the fall.
You let your sister take the fall and kept your trap shut because you were scared of what he knew.
Knew what?
Blue Dolphin Casino, end of September 1946.
How do you know that?
When you were supposed to be in Nevada divorcing Rand. You got to stay there 6 weeks, baby. You can't even leave for 1 day. Figure it out. You're perjured in the Nevada courts. Your divorce is no good. When you married Harold Pine, you weren't divorced from Rand.
Wise guy, Regan.
You don't get Pine. I'll take care of that. Your marriage to him is good. Like a $3 bill.
Thanks. Maybe I can do something for you sometime.
So the Swami killed Rand. That's what I figured wrong. If Mary didn't stick Rand, it had to be a toss job. Somebody had to toss that knife through the trailer window. Somebody professional. I figured you. Till I saw that photo of Duncan and Dolly. Why'd you do it?
Because he hated Rand.
He loved you.
How'd you figure that?
Guys fall in love with dames like you. I don't know why.
We were a duo. Duncan and Dolly. We were going to get married, but I ditched him for Rand.
That figures.
Rand looked good a while. Dunk went on the bottle when I married Rand. Pretty soon he got too shaky for a knife act.
Ended up like this. The phony Swami.
He said Rand had beat his time with me. He said he'd kill Rand if he got the chance. Didn't think he had the nerve.
He's coming out of it. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to talk to Dunk. So long, Regan.
Get out of here! That wrapped it up for me. The police took it from there, and after a few hours at headquarters, I headed back to my apartment. But if I figured it was that easy to get rid of the Lion, I was in for a new set of figures. The Lion was there, waiting, hat in hand.
Jeffrey, my boy, you've come back at last. I heard all about it. I've been waiting for you, Jeffrey.
Sure. Candle in the window.
Jeffrey, will you ever forgive me? Will you forget the unkind words I've uttered, the meaningless, petty things I've said? Oh, I rue the day I mistrusted you, Jeffrey, my boy. It was madness.
Come off it, Fatso.
But, Jeffrey, I mean it. You were right all along. Mary didn't kill that man. Mary was an innocent girl caught in the tangled web of suspicion. But you, Jeffrey, you defended her in her most trying moments. A noble thing, Jeffrey.
But I'm fired.
Fired? Oh, nonsense, my boy, nonsense. Haven't I apologized? It's just that I feel so sad about that poor child Mary and that Pine fellow without the bride he had taken to his heart. What will they ever do, Jeffrey?
Save your sympathy, Lyon. They'll get along.
What? What do you mean by that?
Well, when I last saw them, they were sobbing it out on each other's shoulders.
You mean it, Jeffrey? They've discovered each other? How charming, how positively charming. And with all those millions he has, too. Millions of dollars.
Stop drooling, Fatso. There's nothing in it for you.
No, Jeffrey, I suppose not. But I can dream, can't I?
Jeff Regan, Investigator, is written by William Frug and William Fifield, directed by Sterling Tracy, and stars Frank Graham as Regan, with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. Original music is by Dick Arant.
Welcome back. Well, once again, we get to hear from the great Barton Yarborough in another character role, not the Joe Canto role he played for that one episode of the Jack Webb run, but an entirely different role. And he does a lot of these Texas hayseed character roles. That's just part of how he managed to pay the bills. I hate to sound like a broken record, but once again, I found the dynamic between Regan and the Lion just fantastic in this particular episode. The first time Regan actually gets fired, despite deserving it arguably several times for the type of conversation and way he addresses the Lion. But you know that he'd have him back, because I don't know if the Lion could find another good, self-respecting investigator who would put up with him as Regan does. We have a question from Dan, who actually asked this on the Dragnet podcast on Podcast Alley. Hey, Adam, great show. Did you know there's a guy that is podcasting just Richard Diamonds? He has 4 shows now. What happened to Sam Spade? I did not know that till he let me know. The gentleman at this point is up to 4 episodes. He's doing 2 episodes at a time, not in any particular order. So it'll be interesting to see. Generally, a good rule of thumb with podcasting as to whether it's going to continue. It's actually up to 5 as of this recording, maybe 6. Is if you make it past the 7th episode. That seems to be kind of the break-even point. It's a challenge with most shows to do an individual top show, just because there's a limit to the episodes and there's the limit to the appeal of one particular show, though Richard Diamond is probably a good one to do for that purpose. So all the best to him. And yeah, if you go into iTunes and search for Richard Diamond, you can find the podcast, and he should be up to either 5 or 6 episodes available. And we have a review on iTunes From Music Man, who writes, I found this show after listening to the OTR Dragnet show, and I love it. The best episodes are yours truly, Johnny Dollar, Jeff Regan, and Sherlock Holmes. Let George Do It and Box 13 are pretty good also. Commentary's good and before, after. Great show, great host, and great lineup of OTR. Keep it up. Well, thank you so much for your review and your support. All right, well, after the show today, we're going to have a discussion about some development in the old-time radio world that may have an impact on our future programming in regards to Sam Spade and the Falcon. But it's kind of involved, so we'll discuss that after the show. Before we do get started with today's episode, though, I want to let you know about our sponsors. The GoToMeeting conferencing service that's offered by our sponsors is designed for bottom-line folks who want to make the most of their time, don't want to compromise the security of their business, and want an affordable service. So what's the bottom line on GoToMeeting? Is it safe? Yes, it has the highest standard of security right down to the user interface. Is it affordable? Yes, you get unlimited meetings for $49 a month, and that includes free voice IP and phone conferencing. Will it save you time? Judge for yourself. Listeners to the great detectives of old-time radio can get a 45-day free trial of GoToMeeting. For this special offer, visit GoToMeeting.com/podcast. That's GoToMeeting.com/podcast to start your free trial. And now for today's episode of Let George Do It, Destination Dead End.
Standard of California, on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West, invites you to Let George Do It. Destination Dead End, another adventure of George Valentine.
Personal notice, danger's my stock and trade. If your life's going into a tailspin and the odds are against you, call on me, George Valentine. Write full details.
Dear Mr. Valentine, I cannot pay big fee for your services. That would mean I would have to go to my son for the money. That I would never do. But no matter what my son has done, he is still my own flesh and blood, and I must help him. He is in trouble. I know it. I feel it. Because I have to go.
During the day, would you come and talk to me tonight? Maybe I can still save him. And it's signed Sophie Pebbleman, 93 River Street.
Pebbleman.
Do you know him, George?
Yeah, he's the glamorized private eye who's been trading information with the biggest racketeers in town. Talking his little head off or keeping quiet for a price.
Oh, golly. George, I don't think we belong in this picture with Dickie Boy.
I wasn't thinking of him, Brooksy.
Well, then think of yourself.
Logic tells me you're right, Angel. But shouldn't somebody be thinking of a mother who can sense that her son is playing with dynamite?
I can tell you everything later, Mr. Valentine. But right now you must go to Richard.
Hey, wait now.
I know something is going to happen to him tonight.
Look, have a heart, Mrs. Pebbleman. I haven't even had a chance to think about it.
Oh, I was praying for you to get here. It was like a knife turning around in my heart to hear my son on the phone.
Well, try to calm down. What did he say?
He told me he was having dinner at the Richelieu restaurant.
Well, the worst that could happen to him there would be drowning in a finger bowl.
He said he ordered everything the best and had to talk to me this last time.
That wasn't all he said.
No. One more thing that makes me sure he is in terrible danger, Miss Brooks.
What's that?
When Richard was a little boy, sometimes he would get into bad trouble and run away. It is not easy for young people to be good in this neighborhood.
Go on.
When the trouble was real bad, he would say, "Goodbye, Mom. See you day after tomorrow." Then I never knew when he would come back.
And is that what he said tonight?
Yes. Don't you see? He was trying to tell me he did not know when I would see him again. Just like when he was a boy.
All right, Mrs. Pebbleman, you stay put. If it'll make you feel any better, we'll get over to the Richelieu and see what's bothering your son. Knowing the spot you're on doesn't seem to interfere with your appetite, Pebbleman.
And the condemned man ate a hearty meal.
Well, if you know that Downey's thugs are waiting outside to shoot you down, why don't you call the police?
Because it would be tomorrow night, and the night after that. And even I can't afford feckless feasts like this every night.
Your mother isn't going to take this as nonchalantly as you are. She'll get over it. Hey, look.
Yeah?
Did you ever get in a jam like this?
You just don't buy Charvet ties, suits from Bond Street, and Peel shoes just being another private dick who turns in a report and forgets it.
All right, so you don't.
Well, the boy from River Street in the slums, he wanted these things. With my job, I picked up a lot of useful information that nobody else could get. They traded it in like a broker.
What information about Matt Downey's operations have you been selling?
And to whom? Scarlatti. And Matt has just decided to put a stop to it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah?
Pebbleman of River Street. Connoisseur, Epicurean par excellence. A private eye with a Ph.D., his mother's slave to get him. It's been a long road just to wind up at a dead end.
Hey, look, stop being dramatic, will you? I gotta dream up a way of getting you out of here alive. For your mother's sake.
Yeah. Hello, Mom. This is your boy, Richard. The inauguration is over, and I'm calling you from the White House.
Very glib, very glib.
Look, Valentine, before you knock yourself out on my behalf, I ought to tell you. Over there, that's Downey, my nemesis himself. The punk with him is a trigger-happy character named Jinx.
They're not going to knock you off in here.
Oh, nothing as crude as that. I get it out on a public thoroughfare by some hired gunsel, while they sit the alibi out where everybody can see them.
I'll be back in a few minutes.
You gonna pass a miracle?
Maybe. See you in a while. Find about me quick. Hey, please, this is the chef at the Richelieu restaurant in Carlton. Fire in the kitchen, everything. She's burning down. Hurry, right away, quick, quick. Oh, now if my phony French accent didn't get in the way, something ought to happen. Hey, Downey. Those your hoods draped all over the street outside?
What? Who asked you over?
Me.
Wanted me to get rid of them, Matt. Take that toothpick out of your mouth, Jinx. All right, friends, you're dealing. Go ahead.
You heard the question.
I don't know what you're peddling, but I don't want any.
Don't play innocent, Downey. You're not dressed for it.
See that comic arms trade. Disappear. And give my love to Pebbleman. Hey, there must be a fire out there.
Hey, now, take it easy, everybody. There's just a small fire back in the kitchen. What are you trying to pull, funny boy? I'll let you know when you wake up.
And you're never gonna...
Yeah. Hang on, Gypsy. Come on, Pebbleman. We're getting out of here.
Valentine, what's going to be next with you, huh? From day to day, the suspense kills me. Now you're turning in phony fire alarms.
Look, Lieutenant, how about Pebbleman?
You say you want me to keep him stashed away, huh? Well, what do I charge him with, pal? And how do I keep somebody from bailing him out?
Pebbleman will be happy to be charged with anything just to keep Downey off his tail.
Well, you could have found him jaywalking or talking sassy to an officer or putting mustaches on paintings in the museum.
Oh, don't be so helpful, Miss Brooks.
And to keep him from being bailed out by certain interested parties, you can shut him around from one precinct to another. Just don't let him get slammed out.
Why should I protect him? He never cooperates with us. He won't tell us a thing. If Downey and his hoodlums are gunning for him, we ought to know why.
Riley, you'd like to get something on Downey, wouldn't you?
What do you think?
All right, then. It's a bargain. Before the night's over, I expect I'll be seeing a lot of Mr. Downey.
Look, Valentine, let's stop the potsy. We can make a deal.
Okay, name it, Downey. I'll even listen.
Forget you're working for Pebbleman, and I'll forget I owe you something for that fancy shuffle at the Richelieu.
I ain't forgetting it.
Close your head, Jinx. Yeah. I'll make it interesting. A wallet full of shin plasters with big numbers on them.
I got an old lady with a strong sense of justice paying me off. It wouldn't be ethical to shack up with you.
What do you want to bother with Pebbleman?
You know he's a rat.
Now, where is he?
In durance vile.
You gonna let him talk to you that way, Matt?
Oh, jail to you, Jinx. Jail, your old alma mater.
Okay, Valentine. We'll find a way to bail that double-crosser out.
It's going to take you some time. I made a little game out of it. It's called Pebbleman. Who's got Pebbleman?
I've got time.
You better have plenty. Our friend can plead guilty to a charge that'll keep him in the can until I can find out what'll put you where he is.
Okay. Now, let's stop being cute. Look. Get Pebbleman out in the open.
That's okay for sound, but you're repeating yourself.
You got no choice, Valentine. You see, I got the old lady when nobody can get to her.
What's that?
Yeah. It's either the son or the mother. Now make up your mind.
We'll return to tonight's adventure of George Valentine in just a moment. Meanwhile, a word of advice from a fellow motorist. One of the worst enemies anyone's car can have is interior engine corrosion. And probably no one is more aware of this fact than a man who looks after a railroad diesel engines. The man I have in mind is Mr. George L. Higgs, diesel locomotive supervisor for the Spokane-Portland-Seattle Railroad. Having had excellent results with RPM Delo oil in locomotives for years, it was natural for Mr. Higgs to use compounded RPM motor oil in his automobile and in his pleasure boat. Among other advantages of RPM motor oil, Mr. Higgs points out, quote, it's one oil that prevents corrosion and increases bearing life, unquote. Well, you don't have to run a railroad to find out that RPM motor oil gives your car protection you trust. All you have to do is get a crankcase drain and a refill with RPM. For proof of how this premium motor oil keeps your engine clean, just watch how dirt drains out with the oil after a service period. All the time, RPM is lubricating your engine. It's keeping internal contaminants dispersed in the oil, where they'll drain out when the oil is changed. So for longer car life, get RPM motor oil tomorrow at independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations, where they say and mean, we take better care of your car. A strong-willed but humble woman tells you she fears her son is in trouble, and brother, she isn't wrong. A private detective who thinks ethics is just another word in the dictionary been peddling combustible information to two rival racketeers, and one of them, Matt Downey, is about to give him a permanent wave. If your glandular makeup is anything like George Valentine's, you play along, and Downey comes up with this fine-fingered gimmick.
Yeah, it's either the son or the mother, Valentine. Now make up your mind.
I'll play ball.
How can I be sure I can trust you?
You can't. You'll just have to coast on the deal.
You like to make things tough, don't you?
You know how much I trust you, Downey? As far as I can throw that baby Graham with both hands tied behind my back.
Jinx. Yeah, Matt. Call Frankie out at the lake. Tell him to put Mrs. Pebbleman on the phone. You know what'll happen if you're crossing.
Oh, I'll be careful, all right. I'm not one of those morons who thinks it's a trend to be brave.
Now you're being smart.
This is Jinx. I'd want you to...
I'll even let you go out and pick her up yourself. She'll be in a car with Frankie right near my place.
Hold it a minute. There she is.
Go ahead, Valentine.
You all right, Mrs. Pebbleman?
Mr. Valentine.
Uh-huh.
Where is Richard? How is he?
He's safe. Now listen, I'm coming right out there to get you.
You coming here?
That's right.
I will be waiting, Mr. Valentine. See you day after tomorrow.
Day after? Yeah, right away. Now don't worry about a thing. Goodbye.
All right, Valentine. I'm taking your word that you'll contact your connections and let Pebbleman be sprung.
Let's put it this way. My word is as good as yours.
Take Route 22. About a mile past that big drive-in theater. Frankie'll be waiting at the bottom of the hill. Blow your horn twice so he'll know it's you.
Yeah, just like in the movies. Be safe.
Come on, Matt. What's the offbeat? Very simple. Valentine isn't coming back. You saw how troublesome he can be.
But I thought you were...
We're holding on to Mrs. Pebbleman. As long as I have her, I can smoke Sonny Boy out anytime.
Hey, this is the spot, Brooksy. Did you manage Pebbleman's car all right?
Oh, yeah. But golly, George, I could hardly follow you in this fog.
Good car. You got anything straight?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, now here we go. Here's the signal.
Yeah.
Hey, look, that fog lights just went on down there.
Yeah, and that light over there.
Downey's house. Now, give me 5 minutes to cut across and get there. Then start up Pebbleman's car. Let it roll down the hill. The closer to those fog lights she piles up, the better.
Okay, George. I'll be waiting here in our car with the motor running. Good luck, honey.
What's going on out
All right, Jinx.
Valentine.
Hands behind your back. I don't want to use this gun. There's enough noise out here.
Oh, Mr. Valentine, they were waiting there for you, all those men. They were going to kill you.
Yeah, I know. Come on, get your things, Mrs. Pebbleman. We got to get moving.
I tried to warn you on the phone.
You did.
I told Matt not to get fancy.
Too bad he didn't listen, Jinx. Because I got to put you out of circulation. All right, come on, Mrs. Pebbleman. You're going to sit this out in Brooksy's apartment while I talk it over with Lieutenant Riley. What do you mean, Pebbleman is out?
You heard me. He wanted out. So he put up his own bail.
But wait a minute, I don't get it, Lieutenant. The gears don't mesh. He knows what Downey has scheduled for him.
Well, maybe he's tired of breathing. Anyway, all I had against him was hitching a ride on a fire truck.
Oh, something must have conked out. Why did he change his mind?
Look, pal, I did a little checking. I know Pebbleman's racket, see? He's been acting as an information pipeline for every mob in this town. Now, why didn't you tell me that in the first place?
Well, what would you use for proof? Have you got any even now?
And right at this moment, he's a walking target. Because he sold out Downey so Scarlatti can move into the River Flats district first with the numbers right.
I don't want to repeat myself, Riley, but where's the proof?
Well, give me time. But I'll tell you this much. If we get our hands on Pebbleman again, I'll find a rap that'll really stick. He's no better than Downey, Scarlatti, or any of those other muck-heels.
Okay. I won't argue about that.
And Valentine, I seem to remember you promised me something to nail Downey with.
I got that, Lieutenant. I can't deliver it until morning.
Morning? Well, that's only a couple of hours away.
Yeah, you're right. But remember what SC almost did to Notre Dame in a couple of hours.
George, you don't expect to find Pebbleman at his house, do you?
Frankly, no, Angel.
Yeah? Hello? Hello? Say, who is this?
He's there, all right.
But that would be the first place Downey would look for him.
Brooksy, I don't know what Pevelman's up to. But if he wants to play it this way, I'll help grease the skids for him. Listen, Valentine, I'm tired. I don't feel like answering questions. Oh, what do you think we've been doing all night? Looking at stereopticon slides?
Just what made you suddenly decide it was safe to walk the streets again, Mr. Pepperman?
Let's say I just drew a couple of high cards since I saw you two last. Now, if you'll excuse me... You know, for one optimistic moment, I thought you heard about what happened to your mother and were willing to risk your neck to help her.
Yeah, I heard about that over my usual grapevine. I was also told she wouldn't need my help with a smart operator like you working for her.
Well, I don't see how all this makes you any better off.
Oh, but it does, Miss Brooks. So you can just stop worrying about it.
Well, aren't you going to answer that?
I suppose I'll have to.
Richard. Oh, you're all right.
Mrs. Pebbleman.
You shouldn't have come here.
I told you not to take one step out of my apartment, Mrs. Pebbleman. It's not safe.
I know, my dear, but that...
Now, look. Let's pick this meeting up some other time. I got a lot of things to do. Valentine, take care of my mother.
Hey, wait a minute. Is that all you got to say, Buster? You know what she's had to go through because of you. Doesn't that mean anything to you?
All right. I'm grateful to you, Valentine. I'll see that you get paid for your trouble.
Well, why don't you try being grateful to your mother?
Will you stop sermonizing? Go on, get out. I've got it all figured now how I can deal with Downey, but I got to do it by myself. Now leave me alone, Ollie.
Richard.
Yeah, Ma.
Of course, I'm glad that nothing has happened to you. But there's something else I must say.
Now, look, don't you start preaching.
Your father and I, we worked hard. Not so you could grow up and make a lot of money, but so that you would grow up and be a good man. Tonight I found out how you help people who break the law.
Oh, please, Mom.
You'll find out things that make it easy for them. I am glad I worked every day this last year, instead of taking 1 penny from you. Your money is dirty, Richard. Dirty.
Oh, this is great. I
told you. Buster, I know who you're expecting. Now listen. Open the door. Let him come in. But be natural.
Now, wait a minute. Look.
I'll be against the wall and back of the door. Leave the rest to me. And I have no compulsion about using this gun after what he did to your mother.
Okay.
Claire, you stay right where you are with Mrs. Pebbleman.
Oh. Come in, Downey.
Thanks. I didn't think you'd be calling me.
Put that gun away.
What? Do you want to have it to you? I hope I didn't break your wrist. Pick his gun up.
So you pulled another fast one, eh, Pebbleman?
Now, look, this was Valentine's idea. I had a proposition to make, but I couldn't talk back to him. He had a gun.
So I see.
Go on, Downey. Go on, sit down. Now, Brooksy, get on the phone and call Riley. Tell him it's nearly morning. He'll know what I mean.
Yes, George.
How do you do, Mrs. Pebbleman?
Please don't talk to me.
George, there's something wrong. I don't get any connection at all.
May as well give up, lady. We took care of that phone. What kind of a sucker do you think I am? Do you think I came over here alone?
I suppose you got Jinx and his playmates cluttering out the doorway outside.
You're so right. Well, funny boy, what's the next move? You can't call the police and you can't leave the house. And after a while, Jinx is going to get worried about me.
Look, let's talk about my deal. Won't be any trouble at all to pin a kidnapping charge on you, Downey. But on the other hand, I can see that my mother doesn't talk.
Yeah?
All you have to do is forget that you don't like me.
Well, fair enough. Why not? I might even make it worth your while to come over to me from Scarlatti. You can start telling me a few things.
Sure. Yeah, sure, Tommy. Then everything will be all right again, see? And nobody's going to get hurt.
Oh, you're one sweet boy, Buster.
Richard, do not even talk to that man. Tonight I heard what he does. He takes nickels and dimes from poor people to play numbers. He wants to do that in our neighborhood where you were born, to people you know. Richard!
Look, Mom, I always had to look after myself. I can't stop now. I'd better go outside and talk to the boys, Downey. Tell them we made a deal.
Stay where you are, Buster.
What are you going to do, shoot me down in front of my mother? Oh, here, Valentine. Take this envelope, huh? Give it to her later. She'll need it.
Why don't you give it to her yourself? After tonight, she won't have anything to do with me or mine. You know that. Be right back.
Mr. Valentine, Richard has been gone so long.
Yeah, too long.
Maybe when the boys saw him, they didn't understand. Didn't give him a chance to explain. That'd be too bad.
But we didn't hear anything.
I'm going out there.
George!
Brooksy, I hate to ask you this, but do you think you can keep this gun on Johnny?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Good girl. And don't mind being a little nervous. That'll remind him he's only half a breath from Kingdom Come. Help you. Just backing up the way you get blood. Hey, your arm. You're bleeding.
Yeah. Look at that monkey sprawl out in the gutter.
Okay. Well, just stay where we are. After those shots, the cops will be here any minute.
No, they won't be in time. Jinx and another guy are in that hall across the street. I'm going after her.
Wait a minute. Don't be crazy.
Then I'm going upstairs and get down.
Come on. Double that. Hey, trouble. Is it bad?
Took all they had to give. What about them?
You don't hear any more shots, do you?
Swell. I had to get Mom and you people off the spot.
Now, look, take it easy. Don't try to talk. We'll get you to a hospital soon now.
I made up for a lot, didn't I? That envelope. Take care of it.
Yeah, sure, fella. I'll see that you take some money.
Wasn't money gonna cook Downey? That envelope, lots of names, places. Make a good story for the papers. I'm gonna like reading it. I wasn't a complete washout, was I?
No, fella. Now what the kind of comeback you made. Well, good morning, Brooksy. Hey, well, what's this?
Oh, just a heart-shaped box. You know what day it is, don't you?
I'll be real sharp and say it's Monday.
Oh.
Well, how do you like... Say, what are these things?
Well, they're socks, darling. Argyles. I knitted them myself.
Oh, you did?
Well, although they don't seem to match, they really do once you get them on.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you'd like something bright for a change. Maybe they're a little too bright.
Oh, no, Angel. Maybe you did use 20 shades of red, but at least you stuck to one color.
Well...
Oh, Brooksy, I was only kidding. But why, Monica, how could I forget this was Valentine's Day?
Yes,
And of all people, I should respond with some wild, impassioned gesture, and I'm going to do that.
Do what?
Well, no matter what anybody says, I'm going to wear these things.
Tonight, I'd like to tell you about a friend of mine who has a brand new car. Can't blame him for wanting to demonstrate it to me, and I can't blame him either for getting embarrassed when his new car wouldn't take an ordinary hill in high gear. Look, pal, I said, what you better put in this here car is Command Performance. Command Performance, he said? Oh, you mean Chevron Supreme gasoline. Well, that's exactly what I meant, so I told him. For Chevron Supreme puts Command Performance in any car, new or old. That's because special blending agents in Chevron Supreme command fast start, speedy pickup, and all the power your car needs to make it great on hills. What's more, no matter where you drive in the West, you can be sure of Command Performance with this premium quality gasoline, for it's climate tailored to each different altitude and temperature zone. So in mountains, at sea level, or in the desert, rely on Chevron Supreme to put Command Performance in your car. Ask for it at standard stations and at independent Chevron gas stations where they say and mean, we take better care of your car. Next week at this same time, you'll find George Valentine not in his office, but far away on a tiny Hawaiian island, and Brooksy will be saying...
George, the boat's gone. Somebody's taken it.
Yeah, so I noticed.
Well, how do we get off this island? What do we do?
Well, right now, I think we need a little protection. How do you like that?
What's the matter, George?
Something else is going, Brooksy, out of my suitcase.
Your gun?
Yeah.
Oh, fine.
So this weird little drama calls for us being permanent guests in this tropical paradise. Unless we're very smart, Brooksy. Or very lucky.
Tonight's adventure of George Valentine has been brought to you by Standard of California on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and Standard stations throughout the West. Let George Do It stars Robert Bailey as George with Francis Robinson as Brooksy. Wally Mayer appears as Lieutenant Riley. Tonight's story was written by David Victor and Herbert Little, Jr. and directed by Don Clark. Also heard in the cast were Tony Barrett as Pebbleman, Jeanette Nolan as Mrs. Pebbleman, Joe Forte as Downey, and Jim Nusser as Jinx. The music is composed and presented by Eddie Dunstetter. Your announcer, John Heaston. Listen again next week, same time, same station, to Let George Do It. This is the Mutual Don Lee Broadcasting System.
Welcome back once again, Mr. George Valentine, showing he's the toughest detective around, or at least can compete for the title. I love my favorite part in this episode was the calling the fire department as a French chef. I've never heard Bob Bailey do a French accent. That was definitely well done and well worth it. Love the writing here. Great drama mixed in with the detective story. Really, type of story could have been told on Night Beat. And I love how they still work in the funny bit at the end. All right, well, we have a few quick comments. Kathleen says, such fun. If you haven't given these a try, you really should. They're terrific. Over on podcast, Allie says, I get grumpy if I can't disappear into the 30s and 40s to Brooksy and George and Dr. Watson and Petri Wine. And just checking in again to vote for August. Thank you so much for the comments. And now to that long, involved discussion I was promising at the start of the show, though hopefully it won't be as long or as involved as when I first recorded it. I went on for 5 minutes. I'm re-recording because I realized that's way too long. All right, well, here it is. Radio Spirits, which makes a lot of old-time radio CDs, high quality, high prices. And made the Shadow Night of Darkness series, which I recommended on the show. Actually went ahead and put in a claim to have rights to The Adventures of Sam Spade and The Falcon, among other series that were pulled down. Now, I have a lot of thoughts on this, and I'll probably write some post over at hubpages.com, but I won't go into that in a whole lot of detail. It'll suffice to say that I think that the claims made by Radio Spirit, I'm very dubious about them. You can read more about my general thoughts on old-time radio and copyrights, but I'm seriously doubtful as to the validity of this claim. And as far as I've been able to determine, by the time that it occurred to anyone there might be any commercial value in these shows, any rights with the limited copyrights that were available at the time of 28 years would have expired. But there's more on that at the website. It's cumbersome. Radio Spirits had actually done this before, back at the start to the early part of the decade. They went ahead and they went after several shows, including some that they're not going after this time. Like a few years back, they were claiming a right to the Life of Riley. The company has been sold a couple of times, and I thought that the new management was kind of realizing that the way that they make success is by making friends and selling higher quality than people can get for free. But looks like so much for that. For my part, I'm not actually going to be purchasing any more sets from Radio Spirits, either through Audible or directly, and I've actually done both in the past. I'll just get the sets that I want off of Radio Archives or other sellers on Audible. Now, regarding Sam Spade and the Falcon, we're not going to remove them from the list of shows that we're going to want to do. We're going to watch and see how things play out for the next few years, whether Radio Spirits goes into some sort of all-out war on anybody who has the Falcon or Sam Spade, or whether this becomes like their Life of Riley thing, where they eventually end up backing down. But we definitely want to wait and see what happens on these shows, so bear with us. All right, well, that wraps it up for that long and involved discussion, as well as for the rest of our show. We're going to get into today's show in just a moment. Before we do, I want to let you know about our sponsor. Our friends at Citrix are very confident in their GoToMeeting product. They understand that it's going to save a lot of people time and money by being able to allow them to, through the use of web and voice conferencing, be able to save time and money on travel, as well as being able to be more flexible and reach more people for their business and personal needs. If you'd like to see if GoToMeeting is right for you, you can try it out free for 45 days. Listeners to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio can go to GoToMeeting.com/podcast. That's GoToMeeting.com/podcast to begin your free trial. Now let's go ahead and we're going to get into today's episode of Sherlock Holmes, The Guileless Gypsy.
Petri Wine brings you Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce in the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The Petri family, the family that took time to bring you good wine, invites you to listen to Dr. Watson tell us another exciting adventure he shared with his old friend, that brilliant detective, Sherlock Holmes. And say, while you lend an ear to the good doctor, you'll get a lot of pleasure out of a glass of rich, ruby-red Petri California port. Just sit back and sip that Petri port leisurely. There's a wine that's just perfect after dinner. A wine that really goes with storytelling and conversation. Petri port is as rich in flavor as it is in color. And what a flavor. Full, hearty, and delicious. Well, I can't think of a better way to express your hospitality than to offer your friends a glass of good Petri port. Serve that Petri port alone, or serve it with fruit or nuts, or with cake or sandwiches. No matter how you serve it, you can serve that Petri port proudly. Because the name Petri is the proudest name in the history of American wine. Well, here we are once again, keeping our weekly date with Dr. Watson. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, Mr. Bartell. Come in and join me. As you see, the puppies have been keeping your chair warm for you. Here, shove them off.
No, Doctor, I don't want to disturb them. They look much too comfortable. I'll sit over here, thanks.
There's tobacco in the jar beside you, cigarettes in the box, and some excellent port on the sideboard, so make yourself at home.
Thanks, Doctor. Are you all ready with tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure?
Yes, Mr. Bartell, though I'm afraid after all these years it's going to be a little hard for me to recapture for you the spirit of the story.
Last week you told us that a band of gypsies played a prominent part in the adventure.
Yes, they did indeed. And it was amid that colorful atmosphere that my story begins. It was in the autumn of 1890. My old friend Sherlock Holmes had persuaded me to leave the comforts of my domestic fireside for a few days and to accompany him to the tiny village of Bragston-on-the-Marsh in the heart of the Norfolk Fen district.
What took Sherlock Holmes up there, Doctor?
I'm afraid that at the time we left London, Mr. Bartell, he concealed his true purpose from me, saying only that he wanted friendly companionship and a strong right arm. Not until later did I learn that he was then on the track of one of the last clues that led to the confining of the Moriarty gang. But to get on with my story. We arrived at Bragston-on-the-Marsh and settled ourselves in the village inn. And after an early dinner, we strolled across the fields to the gypsy fair that was encamped nearby. It was a colourful sight, Mr. Bartell. Naphtha flares lighted a group of tents and caravans dotted round the edge of the marsh. And as gold-earring gypsy girls told fortunes and danced, swarthy gypsy men played on their violins the haunting melodies of their ancestors. We watched the side shows for a few moments and then strolled towards the centre of the gypsy encampment. It seems only like yesterday, Mr. Bartell, as Holmes turned to me and said...
Far cry from Baker Street, isn't it, Watson?
Yes, indeed. Just the same, Holmes, I'm convinced that you're not here purely for a holiday. You're on the trail of some criminal.
No, chap, I'm on the trail of a clue. A clue, if I find it, may lead to the confounding of the Moriarty gang.
Holmes, can't you be a little more explicit? After all, I left my wife and my practice without asking any questions. Surely now we're up here, you can let me know what's afoot.
Very well, old fellow. I'm searching for a young gypsy by the name of Pyramus Hearn. He disappeared recently from London, and it's vital that I find him. I know that he can give me some essential information on our old enemy, Professor Moriarty.
And you're expecting to find the gypsy here?
I hope to get news of him, at least. His father, Jasper Hearn, is head of this particular encampment.
Well, why don't you ask if you can see him?
Just what I'm about to do, my dear fellow.
Well, here comes the gypsy. Now, I'll ask him.
All right. Oh, excuse me.
You speak to me, Corcho?
Can you tell me where I may find Mr. Jasper Hearn?
What you want with Jasper Hearn?
I have a message for his son, Pyramus.
That is different. Jasper Hearn stands in the booth yonder. He is the Timbalangro.
Timbalangro?
He's the gentleman engaged in an interesting exhibition of skill involving 3 thimbles and a pea. What our American cousins refer to, I understand, as the old shell game. Let's stroll over there, shall we, old fellow?
If you would wish to talk to Jasper, it would be better to wait until he is finished. A Timbalangro needs all his wits about him.
By Joe, look at that stunning girl in the tent over there. Who's she?
Her that is penning the rice tuckering. That is Lydia. Lydia Pentalangro. Excuse me, I shall tell Jasper to expect you later.
I can't understand a word they say, Holmes. Penning the what?
At last, my dear fellow, you can appreciate how I have felt at times. But at least their words are clear, even if the sense is not, to someone who is unfamiliar with the Romany language.
I don't know why you keep hinting that I'm hard to understand. No one else ever complains of it. In any case, what does penning the thingamabob mean?
Well, if I remember rightly, penning duckerin is telling fortunes. And from the sound of things, Lydia Pentalangro is not greatly pleased with the duckerin she penned.
No more. Lydia can tell no more fortune.
Come on, Watson. Let's see what the trouble is.
What do you mean? You must finish it.
But, Olive, my dear, if the young lady doesn't want to tell my fortune...
Rubbish. You crossed her palm with silver. She's taking money under false pretenses.
Here, I give you your silver back. Lydia has never taken money under false pretenses, nor has she told the future when she does not wish to. Goodbye to you.
The insolence of these gypsies is intolerable. If I had my way, they'd be run out of the county.
Now, my dear, don't get so excited. The poor girl's probably...
Good evening. Major Treadgold, isn't it?
Huh? I don't think I have the pleasure of your... Oh, dear me. It's Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Yes, sir.
Well, bless my soul. Haven't seen you since that last meeting of the Geographical Society. Oh, I'd like you to meet my wife.
How do you do, Mrs. Treadgold?
How do you do?
This is my friend, Dr. Watson.
How do you do? And what brings you up to this part of England, Holmes? Are you hot on the trail of some desperate criminal?
Dear me, no. Dr. Watson and I are taking a little holiday, and you and your wife?
We live here in the manor house.
Well, you're very lucky. It's a beautiful part of the country, Mrs. Treadgold.
I hate it. I was born and brought up in London. I'm never really happy outside the city.
Yes, Olive is not one for the peace of the countryside, I'm afraid. Well, perhaps we'll get back there. It's a little difficult these days, you know. We've got the boy to consider.
Boy? Your son, sir?
My dead brother's son, Doctor.
We have no children.
My little nephew's only 4 years old, you see, and I'm his guardian as well as being executor of his estates up here. So you can understand it would be difficult for us to get back to London.
It's only difficult because you put the child's happiness before mine, Arthur.
Oh, now, Olive, you know I have to watch his interest up here. After all, when he comes of age, he'll be one of the richest young men in Norfolk.
Yes, and with money that should have come to us. In any case, Arthur, if we do have to live up here, I'd find it more tolerable if you'd keep this gypsy scum off the estates.
You seem to have taken a violent dislike to the gypsies, Mrs. Treadgold. May I ask why?
Oh, they persecute us. They steal our sheep, they break our windows, and just the other day they wantonly led our prize pig into the Bragstone quagmire and let the beast perish.
Why should they single you out for persecution like this, do you suppose?
Well, I can't imagine. I've always tried to be nice to them.
Too nice, Arthur. That's your trouble.
Well, I have a very good reason for humoring them, my dear. You see, Holmes, I've always been afraid they may carry this feud so far that they'll even hurt the baby. Olive, my dear, I wonder if you'd go ahead and wait for me in the carriage. It's getting rather chilly. I'll join you in a moment.
Very well, Arthur, but don't keep me waiting long. Good evening.
Good evening. Good night, Mr. Pilgrim. Let's stroll away from the camp, shall we? I've got something very important to tell you. Something I didn't like to say in front of Olive. The gypsies have threatened to kidnap our boy.
Great Scott, how shocking.
What form did their threat take, sir?
This letter. I found it pinned on the frame of my dressing room mirror when I went up after dinner tonight.
Let me see it, will you, please?
Well, what does it say, Holmes?
A Romany Rye... A Romany Rye won't take your insults forever, Major and Mrs. High and Mighty. Watch out for the Treadgold heir. The Bragstone quagmire would make a nice finishing school for him.
Romany Rye? What's that mean?
Well, it's their own term meaning gypsy. Mr. Holmes, what shall I do?
Major Treadgold, I should say...
Great heavens! That shot just missed me.
Where the blazes have come from? I can't see a soul.
They have come from behind any one of those caravans ahead of us.
If you wanted direct evidence, gentlemen, this is it. That is the first open attempt on my life. Holmes, what extraordinary luck for me that you're in the neighborhood. I'll pay you any fee you name to handle this business.
It seems to me that this is a job for the police.
I don't want to go to them.
Oh, why not, sir?
Well, I'm afraid that these attacks may stem from some injustice to the gypsies committed by my late brother. If that were so, I wouldn't wish to expose the fact. I want this kept private. What do you say, Mr. Holmes?
Very well, sir. I'll accept the case. It shall be kept private, and I promise to do everything in my power to protect the safety of the Treadgold heir. We are staying at the Rose and Crown in the village. Please get in touch with me if there should be any further developments.
The affair seems to be closed down for the night now, Holmes. They're turning out the naphtha flares.
Yes, let's stroll over to Jasper Hearn's caravan, shall we? He should be free now.
Well, if he's head of this tribe, he ought to be able to tell you something about this Treadgold business.
Yes. Though I shall first ask him about his son, Pyramus, the man I'm looking for. I think the fact that I know his son will inspire confidence. Here we are. This is the caravan.
That girl, Lydia Petrulengo, sitting outside, the one that was telling fortune.
Yes. Good evening.
Who are you? And what do you want?
I wish to speak to Jasper Hearn.
He is not here. He's gone to the marshes.
When will he be back?
I do not know. You bring trouble to Jasper?
No, my dear. This is a personal visit.
We're not after him for being a thimble engro. Or for penning duckerin.
Oh, for a Gorgio, you speak a Romany well, brother. Oh, you are a true Lavengro, master of words. Where did you learn it?
From Jasper's son, Pyramus.
Oh, you know Pyramus then.
A fine boy.
Oh, sit down on the grass, my friend. You may wait here for Jasper. He will be back soon.
Thank you.
Is that your violin lying on the steps, young lady?
No, that is Jasper's bosom.
Jasper's bosom? What on earth's that?
That is the Romany word for violin. You play, sir?
No, but my friend does.
So? Oh, then take it, brother. The stars are bright. The night is warm. Music will be sweet.
For Romany Chai, I'm afraid my violin playing will sound rather poor stuff.
Play on, brother. Stop, brother. You play well, but Sarasate Zigeunerweisen is not the true gypsy music. I've heard it in London and in Budapest. They call it gypsy. But what can a Gorgio know of the true heart of Romany? Wait here. I will get my own violin.
Charming girl, charming. But why do you keep on talking about Gorgios? Is that more of their confounded gibberish?
Gorgio, old chap, is the term they use for anyone who is not a true gypsy.
Now I will play for you the real gypsy airs.
Thank you. I should appreciate it very much. But before you begin, I wonder if I might ask you a question.
A friend of Pyramus may ask me any question. What is it?
I observed you telling fortunes earlier on tonight. You refused to tell a certain gentleman's hand and gave the money back. Did you know who the gentleman was?
No, brother. Nor the noisy woman with him. I refused to pen the duckerin because I saw blood and violent death in his hand. Violent death it is soon to come.
Violent death? Good Lord.
Watson, old fellow, I want you to do me a favor.
Yes, of course I will. What is it?
I must remain here until Jasper Hearn comes back. I should like you to return to the inn it's more than possible that we may have news from our client before the night is out. I'll be back later.
Oh, well, it's nice of you to give me the best job. Good night, Miss Petrina.
Good night.
And now, please play for me a true Romany air.
Very well, my friend. Listen. Now you must play, brother. I shall make a true Boschamengro of you. Come, see if you can follow me.
You have taught him well. You have made a true Boschamengro of him.
He is an apt pupil, Jasper.
Well, with such a teacher, it's hard to be otherwise, Mr. Hearn. That is, if one has a spark of music in one's soul. Call me Jasper, brother. You have spoken well, my son. You have taught wisely to me of things that I have not understood. Come, we shall drink wine together underneath the stars. I shall get glasses and a flagon.
Jasper has taken a great fancy to you, brother.
And I to him. He's a fine man.
Sherlock Holmes.
Yes, Lydia?
May I read your hand, brother?
Oh, yes, of course.
A strange hand, and a beautiful one. A long lifeline, and yet I see sudden death and violence surrounding you. Now, at this moment. And in the future, I see a journey for you, across the seas, within a year. Beware of water that runs in the mountains. Near death will befall you there. More travels. More dangers. Oh, you must be careful, brother. Oh.
What is it?
Our paths are destined to cross but once. We shall not meet after this night. That makes me sad.
Oh, but we shall meet again. I shall be here for some days yet.
No, it says in your hand that we shall not meet again. And a hand cannot lie. Who is this that comes toward us through the moonlight?
It's my friend, Dr. Watson, I think. Yes. Hello, Watson. What's wrong?
Wrong. Everything's wrong. Mrs. Treadgold's waiting in a carriage. She wants you to come at once.
Indeed? Why?
The child has been kidnapped. Major Treadgold has gone for the police, and Mrs. Treadgold is threatening to rouse the local inhabitants and come out here and burn this camp to the ground if you don't find the
You
child.
tell Mrs. Treadgold to return home. She can do no good here.
But Holmes...
Tell her, old chap, that I have the case well in hand.
But how can you have? You've been out here all the time playing your violin.
Have faith in me, please, old fellow, will you? And deliver the message. Then come back here and join me, and I'll explain everything to you.
Very well. I suppose you know what you're up to.
Violence and trouble, brother. It is all there in your hand.
Well, what must be shall be, and I wouldn't have it otherwise. But for the moment, the sky is starlit, the air is still, and the melody you played haunts me. Let's play it together again, shall we?
I should like that. I should like that very much.
Dr. Watson will continue his story in just a few seconds, during which time I'd like to talk specifically to the ladies, if I may, and tell you about Petri California Muscatel. Just as Petri California Port has long been known as the wine of gentlemen, Petri Muscatel has been known as the favorite of the ladies. That's because Petri Muscatel is a golden-colored wine that looks like captured sunshine and tastes as... Well, did you ever taste big, plump muscat grapes picked when they're still misty and dew-covered? If you have, you know what to expect when you taste Petri Muscatel. The flavor of Petri Muscatel comes right from the very heart of luscious, hand-picked Muscat grapes. You couldn't ask for a more delicious wine than Muscatel. Petri Muscatel. Well, Dr. Watson, I must say this is a strange story you're telling us. You mean to say that the heir to the Treadgold estates had been kidnapped, and yet Sherlock Holmes paid no attention?
Yes, that's what it seemed like, Mr. Bartell. I couldn't understand him. I'd never known him to be so indifferent to a case. There he sat until the early hours of the morning as he and that girl scraped away at their violins and never said a word about the kidnapped baby. Finally, as we walked home across the fields a few hours before dawn, his mind seemed to return to the matter at hand. He spoke quietly, and yet there was a note of suppressed excitement in his voice.
Watson, my dear fellow, you're angry with me, aren't you?
No, Holmes, I must say, but I'm confused. That girl seems to have bewitched you. Have you forgotten that you accepted the job of guarding the Treadgold heir, and that the child was kidnapped tonight?
No, I'm fully aware of the fact.
Holmes, for heaven's sake, stop being so infernally matter-of-fact. What's come over with you?
Oh, possibly it's the mood of this mild autumn night. It is indeed a St. Martin's summer. So much so that I've left my coat and deerstalker cap behind me at the encampment. Let's go back, shall we? And incidentally, when we get there, I can set your mind at rest by showing you the kidnapped child.
You mean you know where it is?
Certainly. It's, in the camp.
Then the gypsies did steal it.
No, my dear fellow. I did.
What? This is one of those occasions when you absolutely infuriate me, Holmes. If you must keep me up half the night while you have a fitting concert with a gypsy girl, least of all you can do is tell me what's going on. You say you stole the child yourself. In heaven's name, why?
Because the threatening note to Major Treadgold was so obviously a fraud.
Oh, why do you say that?
You will remember that the letter began, "A Romany Rye will not take your insults forever." Now, a Romany Rye, despite what Major Treadgold said, does not mean a gypsy, but a man who knows about gypsy law. It is a term no true gypsy would apply to himself. He would use the expression Romany child. So it was obvious from the beginning that no gypsy threatened the child. Now, who else had a motive for harming it?
Well, Major Treadgold, because he stood to inherit the estate.
Yes, or his wife. It's quite obvious. She has no liking for our present life, and the child is an obstacle to a new one. With the child kidnapped and later made away with, obviously they both stood to gain a great many of the things they wanted.
Yes, you're right. And whoever the culprit is took the precaution of pinning the blame in advance on the unfortunate gypsies by writing the false kidnapping note. Wait a minute, but how about the shot that was fired at us tonight as we walked with Major Treadgold?
Probably fired by an accomplice to the plot, in order to give authenticity to the supposed danger.
And the child is now in the gypsy encampment.
Yes, I promised that I would protect the Treadgold heir, and so I arranged with Jasper Hearn to have the boy kidnapped for his own safety.
But if anyone should find the child, they'll say the gypsies deliberately stole him.
Oh, I'm quite certain that before that occasion arises, old chap, the criminal will have shown his or her hand. Come on, old fellow. Put your best foot forward. It's a long way back to the camp yet, and it's nearly dawn.
Come back, Butter. You wish to spend the remainder of the night in the encampment?
No, thank you, Jasper. I just came back for my cap and coat. It was so warm tonight, and I forgot about them, and I started to walk home without them.
I will find them for you. Oh, we found this message for you soon after you had left. It was pinned to the door of the caravan. I do not know how it got there. I will search for your coat and hat.
Another message? What does it say, Holmes?
Never trust a Romany Rye. Uh-huh. The same mistake again, Watson. Your plans have been betrayed. For proof, meet me at the Bragstone quagmire at dawn.
It's a trap, Holmes.
Obviously. We must spring it with caution.
I cannot find your coat or your cap, Brother. It has vanished.
Vanished? May I speak to Lydia?
That is a strange thing, too. Lydia has gone also.
She's gone. Tell me, Jasper, did she read this note?
Yes, she did. She could not help reading it.
Then she, too, realized it was a trap. She went out in my coat and deerstalking hat to keep the appointment for me.
Holmes, we must go after her.
Jasper, call out the Romany Childs. There's a devil waiting to be caught in the Bragstone quagmire.
How much further to the quagmire, Jasper?
200 yards. no more.
There's Lydia. There she is. And she's dressed in my deer-stalking hat and coat, walking into the trap that was set for me. Lydia! Lydia!
They got her. Look. She stumbled. She's fallen.
I'll go to her, Watson. Jasper, get that devil who staged this fiendish plot. I've a score to settle with him. Do not worry, brother. The score will be settled. Follow me, Doctor.
Thank you. I'm right behind you.
Lydia.
Sherlock Holmes, I was wrong. We do meet again. Your hand lied to me.
Oh, Lydia. You're wounded. What can I do for you?
There is nothing you can do, brother. No one can help me now. There is little pain. There is little time. Please, hold my hand.
There. Tell me, Lydia, did you see who fired the shot?
Yes. It was the man whose fortune I told today. The man with the noisy wife.
Major Treadgold.
Jasper and the men will take care of him. There is one thing I wish to tell you, brother.
Yes?
Our short meeting has brought me happiness. I should like to think I can leave you something so that you will not forget me.
I shall always remember you, Lydia. Always. You gave your life for mine.
There is one thing of mine that I wish you to have. It will remind you of me.
What is it?
My violin. It brought us together. I should like you to have it, brother.
Lydia.
Do not be sad. It is good. My life for yours. You will give help to many people. It is in your hand. Goodbye. Originating.
Holmes, it was dreadful. Dreadful. The gypsies surrounded Major Treadgold. They forced him back into the Bragston quagmire. I tried to pull him out, but I couldn't do it single-handed.
I'm not sorry, Watson. Jasper, you know that Lydia is dead?
Yes, I know it. The gypsies knew it, too. That is why you were single-handed, Doctor, in your attempts to save the murderer. No Romany child would raise a finger to help him.
Yes, I can understand that, but great Scott, man, if you'd seen his face as the quaking mud sucked him under.
Lydia's death was less dramatic, but equally moving, I assure you.
Sherlock Holmes, I met you less than 5 hours ago. You have saved my tribe from a devilish plot that would have blackened their names. A plot that would have driven them from the countryside. What can I do in return?
2 things. First, tell me where I may reach your son, Pyramus.
His address is in this sealed envelope, brother.
Thank you.
What else may I do for you?
As Lydia died, she willed me one gift for remembrance.
And what was that gift, brother?
A violin.
Of course. Here. Here it is.
Huh. She told me I might become a true Boshamengro. Let's see if I can recapture the melody once more.
That was a very strange story. A very fascinating one. But tell me, do you really believe that gypsies can tell your fortune by reading the palm of your hand?
Oh, frankly, I don't know, Mr. Bartell. Perhaps they can. Perhaps it's coincidence. And then again, maybe some gypsy women have a heightened sense of intuition. You know, a woman's intuition can be an extraordinary thing.
Yeah, so my wife keeps telling me. Of course, I have a kind of intuition myself.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Every time I see a bottle of wine with the name Petri on the label, my intuition tells me I'm going to like it. And I always do, too.
Mr. Bartell, if ever I saw a man with a one-track mind, you're that man.
Thank you, Doctor. As long as my one track is Petri, I can't miss. Because nobody can miss with Petri wine. What other wine has such tradition, such a story behind it? Petri wine is made by a family, the Petri family. They've owned and operated their own business ever since its inception, back in the 1800s. The Petrie family has been making good wine for generations, and they've been handing on down in the family, from father to son, the fine art of turning luscious, sun-ripened grapes into fragrant, delicious wine. And that sure adds up to a lot of experience. You can just bet your last dollar that no matter what kind of wine you want, when you ask for a Petrie wine, you're asking for good wine. Because Petrie took time to bring you good wine. Well, Dr. Watson, what story are you planning to tell us next week?
Next week, Mr. Bartell, I'm going to tell you of a strange adventure that Sherlock Holmes and I had in the East End of London. It concerns 5 nephews, an eccentric will, and a dead man's watch that gave us the clue to murder.
Tonight's Sherlock Holmes adventure was written by Dennis Green and Anthony Boucher and was suggested by an incident in the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle story, The Adventure of the Red Circle. Music is by Dean Fossler. Mr. Rathbone appears through the courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, and Mr. Bruce through the courtesy of Universal Pictures. They are now starring in the Sherlock Holmes series. The Petrie Wine Company of San Francisco, California, invite you to tune in again next week, same time, same station. Sherlock Holmes comes to you from our Hollywood studio. This is Harry Bartell saying goodnight for the Petrie family. For a solid hour of exciting mystery dramas, listen every Monday on most of these same stations at 8 o'clock to Michael Shayne, followed immediately by Sherlock Holmes. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. There was a comment we got a few months back about the act of a theatrical nature of shows. This show definitely had the feeling of some fantastic theater. It was kind of surprising, I think, in a way. You don't expect an episode of Sherlock Holmes to be so moving, but this one, I think, really was. And I think in large part it was because it was so unexpected that the story had the impact it did. Most of Holmes's interactions with women are very professional. Of course, there's the woman, but that's more of an intellectual admiration. Here there was a definite warmth and a surprising humanness to the relationship with Holmes and Lydia, which makes it really stand out, I think, quite well. The challenge I think you get into when you have a hero who has, a different girl every week is that it becomes really hard to actually care or relate to what's going on with that character. But here, because it's not done all the time, there was, I think, a poignancy that wouldn't have been there otherwise. The episode, I think, you also have to remember the time in which it was set. This was 1946, after World War II and after the Holocaust. And the Gypsies had been one of the Nazis' chief targets. There were 250,000 Gypsies that lost their lives during the course of the Holocaust era. And they had a higher rate of loss than any other ethnic group other than Jewish people. So this, I think, is the type of world that led Green and Boucher to write this play. Really spoke to the feelings of those times, but still 64 years later, still pretty powerful and well written today. Though I was somewhat shaky wondering what was going on when he was playing the violin when Watson came to announce the baby was taken. They really had a good twist on that. All right, well, we have a couple quick comments before we leave. Great podcast, especially Sherlock Holmes, and keep up the good work, Adam. Thank you so much for those comments on Podcast Alley. And Kathleen shares regarding the episode we aired a couple weeks ago, The Strange Case of the Demon Barber. Listen to this in my truck in a pouring rain in a parking lot. Great. Well, thank you so much, and I do encourage you to interact with the show. All right, well, before we do get started with today's show, I want to let you know about our sponsor. It can be a challenge to grow your business. It seems there are a never-ending list of activities that eat into your limited time. That's why I'm so glad to tell you about GoToMeeting, because GoToMeeting allows you to do more with the time you have. Whether it saves you a plane trip to North Carolina or a car trip across town, GoToMeeting saves you time on travel. It can also give you greater flexibility in your scheduling. With GoToMeeting, you can have a meeting with clients in Phoenix and immediately afterwards be able to connect with vendors in Vancouver through the convenience of GoToMeeting web conferencing. Listeners to the great detectives of old-time radio can try GoToMeeting free for 45 days. For this special offer, visit GoToMeeting.com/podcast. That's GoToMeeting.com/podcast. And now let's go ahead and we will take a listen to the Collegio Diamond Matter.
From Hollywood, it's time now for Edmund O'Brien as
Johnny Dollar.
Hank Gleason at Intercommercial, Johnny. Say, did you ever hear the Collegio Diamond?
Doesn't strike a chord.
Worth about $200,000 on the open market.
It's insured and it's been stolen, right?
Well, can't say definitely that it's been stolen, but it's gone. The owner's name was Benson, lived here in Hartford.
Why the past tense?
They found him last night in his study, murdered.
Edmund O'Brien in another transcribed adventure of the man with the action-packed expense account. America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Intercommercial Insurance Companies of America, Home Offices, Hartford, Connecticut. Attention, Henry Lason. The following is an accounting of my expenditures during investigation of the Collegio Diamond matter. Expense account item 1, $1.20 taxi fare to the western part of town where the better homes are situated. Mr. Charles Benson's home was back from the street and encircled with a high, well-trimmed hedge. The black wreath was already on the door. A young lady, very pretty, in a black dress, received me in the study.
You're Mr. Dollar?
That's right.
Mr. Lason phoned and said you were on your way.
I hate to bother you with a matter like this right now. Miss Benson, is it?
Yes. It's quite all right. Maybe if I go over it all again, it'll help me realize that it's happened. That Dad's gone. It's still like a bad dream. The beginning was when Dad bought the Collegio Diamond.
When was that?
About 3 years ago in Italy. He bought it from a diamond trader who'd just come into Florence from South Africa.
Your father had interest there?
No, he was just a tourist. He'd heard about this diamond from a friend of his, a collector. Seems the diamond had belonged to a minor official to the Medicis, a man named Collegio. It was given to him in return for a favor. Since then, it's passed from hand to hand until Dad bought it.
What did he pay for it, do you know?
About $200,000. Or the Italian equivalent at that time in lira. But, Mr. Dollar, the diamond has a strange history.
Now, don't tell me there's a curse on it.
No, nothing like that. But I guess it amounts to the same thing. Everyone who's owned the diamond has died with it in his possession. Died violently.
There's nothing particularly mysterious about that. Anything worth as much as that piece of glass is worth killing for. Say, who's living with you here now?
My mother. Just the two of us. You have no idea how hard it's been for her, Mr. Dollar. She's hardly been out of her room since Dad died.
Can you tell me about last night, Miss Benson?
Well, I was out with Bob, my fiancé. We were out till about 3. Dad was home alone. He had a habit of reading very late. In this room, as a matter of fact. The light in the study was on when we came in. It was the only light on in the house. Bob and I went in. Dad's back was to the door.
Please go on.
He was slumped over in his chair facing the window. His book had dropped to the floor. The wall safe was wide open, and on the desk was the velvet-lined box the diamond was kept in. The diamond was gone. Dad had a bullet hole in his temple.
I see. He kept the diamond right on these premises?
Always. We warned him time after time not to. We told him to keep it in his safety deposit box at the bank, but
He refused. Always said that a diamond wasn't worth having unless you kept it in your possession and enjoyed it.
Who knew about the diamond, Miss Benson?
Oh, so many people. Family, of course. Myself, Bob. The papers were filled with the news when Dad came back with it from Italy.
Oh, I mean, who knew where it was? Who knew the combination of the safe?
Nobody but Dad. And, of course, Mother. Oh, yes, and Mr. Corrigan.
Who's Mr. Corrigan?
Dad's lawyer. Dad kept the will in there and a few other papers that Mr. Corrigan would come and get every once in a while.
Well, Corrigan came into the house and got papers out of your dad's safe anytime he wanted to?
Anytime he wanted to.
I think I'd better talk to Mr. Corrigan before I go any further.
Now, Mr. Dollar, Mr. Corrigan wouldn't have...
Probably not, but we'd better have a talk just the same. I'd like to have his address, please. Expense account item 2, 80 cents taxi fare to Main Street, where Mr. Corrigan's office was located. An elevator ride and a walk down a marble hall took me to the frosted glass door on which was printed Corrigan and Bishop, attorneys at law. I talked myself past the receptionist and the secretary and wound up refusing a cigar from Corrigan himself.
You're in the insurance business?
The investigation end. I understand you were Mr. Benson's lawyer.
That's right. Mr. Benson had the utmost... Oh, excuse me. Yes. No, Vermont maple. 45,000 is way too much. Yes, in board feet. Have them ship it from Montpelier, if that's the case. Well, have them try to get it down then. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Dollar, Mr. Benson and I were associated for about 15 years in one way or another. We went to school together. It was a terrible shock to learn of it. Excuse me. Who? Oh, put him on. Harry, what's with Chicago? No, same thing. No, she's in Arizona. Arthritis. Well, a little better. You know how it is. Yeah, we'll do that. And my love to Annie. Okay, you bet, Harry. Yeah, you bet. Sure. Bye. Now, you're here about the diamond or about the life insurance policy?
The diamond.
Well, the diamond is a very rare item. Whoever got into the safe knew the combination.
I understand there weren't many who knew the combination.
Well, that's true. Mr. and Mrs. Benson and myself were the only ones. I suppose I'm the prime suspect. But, of course, these safe crackers, they use a stethoscope these days. You probably know more about that than I do. Oh, excuse me. Who? Oh, yes, put him on. Yes, Jays. Oh, it is? Oh, swell. Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? Yeah, very young man. 45. Oh, yes. Terribly upset. Well, yes, she's due here at about, any minute now. We're going to make the arrangements. Oh, I wouldn't let her go near the place, no. I certainly tell her. Yeah, you bet. Yeah, you bet. You bet. Yeah, bye. Well, exactly what did you want to know, Mr. Dollar?
Anything that would help us locate the diamond.
Well, have you talked to the police?
No, I thought I'd amble around among the persons involved first.
Well, as I say, you probably know more about that than I do. I wish there was something I could say, but the last time I saw George Benson was about 2 weeks ago.
Do you think this was an outside job?
Well, that's my opinion, but it's sheer speculation. Excuse me. Oh, she is? Well, send her in, please. I hope you won't mind, Mr. Dollar. That's Mrs. Benson. I'm taking you down to the dressmaker's.
Oh, I see.
Why don't you go out that door?
Fine. Oh, thanks, Mr. Corrigan.
Quite all right. Anything else I can do, you'll let me know.
You bet. I didn't leave. I stood in the little outer room and sneaked a listen through the door. There was some reason why Mr. Corrigan had rushed me out one door while Mrs. Benson came in another one. I heard some things that made the whole case of the Collegio diamond a lot more interesting. I pushed the door open a crack.
Darling.
Oh,
You look lovely in black.
I'm going out of my mind. All those people calling, having to act unhappy.
Well, this is your opportunity to be a real actress.
I'm awful at tears.
You're beautiful.
Please, Dan, what if somebody should see us?
Well, let them see us. What do I care? We're as free as birds. There's a little place down in Bermuda, a resort. I got a folder the other day. Beautiful place, Diane. You won't believe how beautiful.
And as soon as it's proper...
What about Kitty?
Well, I told her before I left that I wanted a divorce. I told her, and she knows it. That's why she went to Arizona. She got away to think things over. I didn't want to hurt her, but I wanted her to know.
Darling, I can't believe it. Too good to be true. But we gotta be careful. Very careful. Let's go. We'll be late.
Darling, I love you.
On that somewhat touching note, I quietly closed the office door, turned toward the door that would lead me out into the corridor, put my foot to a rough edge of carpet, and promptly fell flat on my face. This brought Corrigan running.
I thought you were gone, Mr. Dollar.
I thought so, too.
Do you consider it quite ethical listening at keyholes?
Didn't you know? Investigation is just a very polite word for snooping, Mr. Corrigan.
Who is it, Stan?
He's an insurance investigator.
You heard everything?
Not everything, Mrs. Benson. Just enough to tell me that black is not your color.
No, it isn't. I loathe black.
Ditto your husband.
I tolerated my husband, Mr. Dollar.
You don't have to explain anything to him, darling. He's just an insurance man.
The police might be interested to know about this little relationship. There are a number of angles here. Could be that you and Mrs. Benson killed Mr. Benson and removed the diamond to make the whole thing look like robbery.
Yes, Mr. Dollar, it could be. I welcome any police investigation.
Fine, I'll go right over.
Wait. I don't think right now would be quite the opportune time. Guilty or not guilty, I have a reputation.
In the light of that phony love scene you two just played, I can't imagine why.
Mr. Dollar.
Sorry. Well, what do we do? We'll stand around embarrassed? Let's have it. Why did I get the Rush Act out of your office?
Well, that's simple, Mr. Dollar. I was afraid that Diane would give away our relationship.
He's right. I'm not a very good actress.
When did this thing start?
Must you know everything?
I think so.
About 7 years ago.
The wool you were pulling over Benson's eyes must be pretty worn by now.
We did nothing to be ashamed of.
I resent this. I resent the whole thing. I don't think I want to tell you anything more, Mr. Dollar.
I don't blame you. And you know, it's all kind of dull anyway. I'll go to the police. They'll probably have something much more interesting. Don't worry, Corrigan. I'm not going to breathe a word of this unless I feel it necessary. But I never made it to police headquarters. I got out in the street when a very large, very quiet man in a brown and white sports shirt stopped me.
Mr. Dollar?
Yes?
You like some information?
About what?
The Fifth at Tropical.
I never play the ponies.
These ponies you play. Hop in.
Thanks. No.
Oh, come on. Hop in.
Is that dangerous, that steel thing in your pocket?
How very discerning of you to recognize the outline. Inside.
Right.
Okay, Bunny. Relax, Dollar.
Where are we going?
You're going to sleep.
I awoke with a groan in my own apartment. Nobody was there. But nobody. As soon as I could focus my eyes, I tried to lift myself off the floor. After 5 tries, I managed to turn my head. What I saw made me want to go back to sleep again. The place was a mess. There wasn't 1 inch that hadn't been gone over with what must have been a tractor. Every drawer in the place had been turned upside down. The problem was reaching the phone. It was all of 10 feet away, but it might have been 10 miles. I started to crawl. About halfway to it, I grabbed hold of the cord. I pulled the phone toward me until I got my hands on the receiver.
Hello? Hello, Johnny? Hello?
Hello?
Johnny?
Yeah, Johnny.
Johnny, you sound awful.
Yeah, I can understand it.
Well, what'd you find out about the Collegio diamond?
You were right.
About what?
It's gone.
Well, that's brilliant. Who took it?
I don't know.
Well, what are you doing to find out?
Right now, I'm just lying around. Somebody gave me a tumble.
Say, are you drunk?
You better send a doctor. I think I'm going to pass out again.
Johnny? Johnny? Hello? Johnny?
Johnny?
I can't talk to you now.
I'm not on the phone. I'm here.
Huh? Oh. You look funny with 4 heads. Well, might as well put this phone on.
Oh, come on. Stop that nonsense. Now, look, I hate to bother you with business, but what happened to you?
I'll tell it all to the police.
You think I want the police in on this?
Well, why keep them out?
Publicity for the company. I want the public to think Intercommercial is able to take care of itself. Now, come on, what happened?
Somebody asked me for a ride. Asked me if I wanted a ride. Then they gave it to me.
Well, it looks like they were looking for something. Did you have something they might have been looking for?
If I had something they were looking for, I wouldn't know it. But they must have thought I had something they were... Look, I'm going round and round already. Ask me no questions.
Have you got any idea what it might be they were looking for?
Maybe the diamond.
Yeah, say, maybe the diamond. Say, that's right, that could be.
Now go away.
Well, we'll take you off the case and put someone else on, so you can have a nice rest.
Oh, no, you don't.
Well, I thought that would pep you up.
Yeah, money always does. Now get out of here and let me fasten my head back on.
Do you want something?
Yeah. Get me an aspirin. Hello?
Mr. Dollar?
Yeah?
This is Betty. Betty Benson.
Oh, yeah, sure. How are you?
Mr. Dollar, the police have just been here.
What happened?
They found the gun that killed Dad.
Oh, good. Where was it?
In my purse.
We will return to the second act of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, in just a moment. For an hour of rapid-fire entertainment, the show goes on. It's a show for you these Friday nights on most of these same CBS stations. It's an intimate glimpse into a fascinating angle of backstage life. A series of honest-to-goodness auditions for jobs in theater, nightclubs, and radio. The singers and comedians you hear are face-to-face with managers, agents, and bookers ready to hire them on the spot, take an option, or turn thumbs down. Be sure to hear The Show Goes On and its latest act this Friday night. Now, with our star, Edmund O'Brien, we return to the second act of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Expense account item 3, taxi fare again. $1.30 to the Hartford City Jail, where an old buddy of mine by the name of Lieutenant Parnell was quizzing Miss Benson with the nastiest bunch of leading questions I've ever heard.
Now, why did you kill your father, Miss Benson? Oh, come on. We'll make it much easier for you if you'll only...
Hey, Parnell. Come on, give her a break.
Uh-oh, the insurance man. I wondered when you'd be over. Hey, what happened to your head?
When I find out, I'll let you know. Don't let him talk you into a thing, Betty. Get a good lawyer.
No, for one thing, Corrigan is on his way over. For another, the best lawyer in the world couldn't do it any good. The gun had her prints all over it.
Would I put a murder weapon in my purse with my fingerprints on it, Lieutenant? Now, would I?
If you didn't have time to get rid of the gun, why not?
You're getting woozy, Lieutenant. Why don't you take a break? They've got the Giants game on the radio out there. Why not go out and see how they're doing?
No. I might miss something, Dolly. Maybe you can do better with it than I can. I'll just sit down over here and listen. All right, now, how's that?
Fine. Okay, now, Betty. How did the gun get into your purse?
I don't know, Mr. Dollar. The lieutenant was searching through my room and found this purse. And there it was. But I didn't carry that purse the night Dad was killed. I haven't used that purse in a long time. Somebody put the gun in there.
Can you prove it?
Well, no.
Nobody saw you that evening, huh?
Nobody but Bob.
Bob, your boyfriend, huh?
All right, now I've got the necessary papers. You leave her alone. Dollar, what are you doing here?
I just came over to add to the confusion.
Betty, are you all right?
Hello, darling. I'm all right.
Looks like Grand Central Station.
Come on, Betty. We'll have you out of here in jig time.
This is Bob Gorman, my fiancé, Mr. Dollar and Lieutenant Parnell.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, that was nice. Like a Washington hostess. Now, let's try to wind this thing up. Mr. Corrigan, were you anywhere in the vicinity of the Benson home the night Mr. Benson was murdered?
Absolutely not.
Oh, yes, you were. You were visiting Betty's mother.
That's a deliberate lie. I was nowhere near... I don't know why I'm submitting to intimidation from you, Gorman.
Seems to be a little difference of opinion here, Lieutenant.
Mm-hmm. You were quite a comfort to Mrs. Benson during the period of her bereavement, weren't you, Corrigan?
I refuse to answer on the grounds that it might incriminate me.
You're darn right it would incriminate you. The way you've been carrying on with Mrs. Benson, everybody knows about
Bob.
it. No, I'm going to get it off my chest. Betty's father was no sooner dead than he was hustling Mrs. Benson this place and that
Why,
place.
you young...
Temper, Mr. Corrigan. Let's save that for the jury.
He can't make accusations like that.
They aren't just accusations, Mr. Corrigan. They're true. Nobody had a better reason to kill Dad than you did.
Love, huh?
Say, anybody in this room happen to know where the Collegio diamond is?
No.
Huh. I didn't think so.
Wait, Mr. Corrigan.
Hold it.
Perfectly well, but...
I just wanted to say goodbye. Okay, now go ahead.
If you'd like to know who I
Expense account item 4, $12.20 miscellaneous taxi fares all over the place. I went on a little visit to Corrigan's apartment and found something of interest. A little slip of paper on which was written in the highest form of legal language, of course, I owe you $2,000, George Benson. I worked my way into Bob Gorman's apartment. There I found a bill from the Garant Detective Agency. Then to police headquarters again, where I found a picture of a man who was tall and thin and had a little well-trimmed mustache. Then I went home where I found a man who was tall, thin, and had a little well-trimmed mustache. He was drinking my bourbon. You're drinking my bourbon.
It's lousy bourbon.
Look what you did to my head.
It's an improvement.
All right, what do you want?
The diamond, what else?
I don't have it.
I don't believe it.
Well, search the place.
I already did. Well, I guess that does it. See you later.
Don't go.
Out of the way.
I said don't go.
You crazy...
Okay. Drop the gun.
Let go.
Now, sit down and finish your drink.
I didn't come here alone. If I'm not downstairs in 3 minutes, you'll come up.
The more the merrier. Who do you work for?
Myself.
That's right, friend. I want all the excuse I can get to beat the pulp out of you.
Go on. Now cut it.
Who do you work for?
Corrigan.
What's the deal?
He wanted me to get the gun.
So you planted it in Betty's purse?
I didn't. And I didn't kill Benson either. I went to get the gun, but it was gone. And I thought you had it, but you didn't have it.
So you were working for Corrigan?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's start all over again. Who do you work for?
I told you, Corrigan.
This isn't going to be much fun for you, friend.
Now listen, lay off of me. I'm telling you the truth. I tell you the truth, and you keep on hitting me. Now that ain't fair.
Who do you work?
Oh, okay. Mrs. Benson.
What's the deal?
She hired me to get the diamond.
Why?
She killed her husband so she'd get away with Corrigan. She wanted me to break in and get the diamond so it looked like robbery, see? Robbery and murder, see?
Here we go again.
Will you leave me be?
I can keep this up all night if I have to.
Why don't you tell me who you think I work for, then, instead of beating up on me?
I want to hear it from you. Look, chum, since you knocked me on the head, I get spells of bad temper.
All right. All right. The Garant Detective Agency.
Now we're getting someplace, Vic.
How did you know my name?
Well, it's a byword in every precinct police station from here to Ishpeming. You were hired by Bob Gorman.
I was hired by Bob Gorman.
You killed Benson.
I don't know who killed Benson.
What were you hired for?
To get the diamond. Bob's got it in his apartment.
Do I start working on you
No,
again?
don't act so tough now.
Who's got the diamond?
Corrigan. Well, look, if you got all the answers, what are you asking me for?
Vic, my boy, I'm amazed. I've seen liars in my time, but I've never run across anything like you. How can you do it with such a straight face, huh?
Years of practice.
Now I'll tell you the truth as you see it.
Don't you hit me no more now.
Bob Gorman hired you. That's the truth, all right. And he hired you to get the diamond. But you didn't find the diamond there. You found Benson dead.
I walked in there. I'm telling you, I was never more surprised in my life. There was Benson in that chair. Well, I hired out to do a lot of things. But murder, that's not for me. There ain't money enough in the world to make me commit murder.
Slugging, you do.
For good money.
Vic, I'm not interested in who killed Benson. Personally, I don't think you know. I want to know where the diamond is.
How do I know where the diamond is? It was gone when I got there. I thought you had it. That's why I slugged you. Period.
All right, Vic. I'm tired. I got a splitting headache. Finish your drink and get out of here.
No, thanks. It really is lousy bourbon.
Things were as dark as ever. Vic was no help. I knew Bob hired him, but that was all I knew. The next stop seemed to me to be Bob himself. I called him and told him to come over. He was very accommodating. A half hour later, he was tapping gently at my door.
Hello, Mr. Dollar.
Come on in. Don't mind the dirty glass on the table there. I just got through entertaining one of your employees.
One of my employees?
I believe he said his name was Vic. Vic Hastings. I never heard of him. Come on, Bob. You can be yourself with me. Vic talked to me like a brother.
I never heard of him.
You may not be conscious of it, Bob, but you're in plenty of trouble. The police are looking for the diamond, and they're sure whoever has the diamond killed Mr. Benson. I'm just an insurance investigator. I have nothing to do with the police department.
All right, Mr. Dollar, I did hire Vic Hastings. I sent him after the diamond.
He thought I had it.
Yes. When he found out you didn't, he came back and threatened me. He wanted money. I didn't have any, but I told him I'd give him a cut when I got it.
Is this a regular business of yours, stealing diamonds?
Look, Mr. Dollar, I didn't kill Mr. Benson.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you about the diamond.
I heard about the diamond when Mr. Benson bought it. I had to have it. I wasn't going to sell it, not then. I just wanted it. I crashed a party at the Benson house about 4 or 5 months ago. I met Betty, and I started to date her.
That's as good a way as any.
Oh, you've got it wrong, Mr. Dollar. Sure, I wanted to get at the diamond. That's why I started taking Betty out. But things are different. I love her. We want to get married.
Very sweet. Only you didn't hire Vic to get the diamond 4 or 5 months ago, Gorman. So get that pleading look out of your eyes. You don't do a thing to me.
You're not going to the police.
Put it down, Gorman.
Stay where you are. Don't try to follow me or I'll blow your head off. So long, darling.
Parnell speaking.
This is Dollar, Lieutenant. Better send out a code 1 on Bob Gorman.
What do you want it for?
Well, you can call it suspicion of murder. Expense account item 5, 120 taxi fare to the Benson home. I found Mrs. Benson in a sad state upstairs due to her husband's death and daughter's incarceration.
Why must you pester me about a thing like this now, Mr. Dollar? Haven't you any consideration?
Sorry, Mrs. Benson, but it's a job. The sooner we get over this hurdle, the better we are. Now, I know all about your relationship with Corrigan.
All of that has nothing to do with the case.
Well, perhaps not.
I know who killed my husband, and I know why, and I know who has the diamond.
Who?
I can't prove it. I couldn't take it into a court of law.
Well, let me worry about that. What's your idea, Mrs. Benson?
Bob Gorman.
Why do you think he did it?
He has a violent temper. He hated George, hated him like poison. George never wanted him to marry Betty.
Sorry, that motive doesn't click with me. Now, let me tell you who killed your husband. You and Corrigan.
How dare
you? You wanted to get rid of him. You two are the only ones who knew the combination of the safe. You took the diamond and killed Benson.
Why, you...
And you planted a gun in Betty's purse.
Do you mean to suggest that I would try to make my own daughter out to be a murderess?
That's just what you hoped the police would think. That if anybody were framing your daughter, it wouldn't be you. You knew the police would clear Betty because she was nowhere near the house when the murder occurred. And you thought they'd assume that Bob Gorman planted the gun in Betty's purse.
That's a lie.
Come on, Mrs. Benson. It's all out in the open now.
Stay where you are, Dollar.
Corrigan. I was expecting it.
You're pretty good at this business of investigation, aren't you? It's a shame to have to end such a brilliant career.
That's the way it goes. Here today, gone tomorrow. You aren't going to mess up Mrs. Benson's pretty bedroom, are you?
Not at all. We'll just go out the back way. Open the door, Dollar.
Glad to. After you. He's all right, Mrs. Benson. Come on, get up, Corrigan. The lieutenant is waiting. In case you should ask, how did you know, Mr. Dollar, that Corrigan and Mrs. Benson killed George Benson? The answer? I took a big guess. I told them my guess, and with the authority of an Illinois judge, they swallowed it and they confessed. To wind it all up, I might add the following. They got Bob Gorman. He's being sent up along with Vic Hastings. His police record makes Vic's look like a bad report card, which means Betty is going to have to look for a new boyfriend. The insurance company has saved a good deal of money. Everybody bad goes to the penitentiary. Everybody good stays free, which proves that bluff is better than logic. This time, anyway. Expense account item 6, doctor bill and miscellany for my sore head amounting to $25. Expense account total, $65.34. And that's pretty cheap. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, stars Edmund O'Brien in the title role, is written by Gil Dowd and David Ellis, with music composed and conducted by Leith Stevens. Edmund O'Brien can soon be seen in the Columbia Pictures production 711 Ocean Drive. Featured in our cast this evening were Wally Mayer, Jane Webb, Bill Johnstone, Virginia Gregg, Stacey Harris, Bill Boucher, and Harry Bartell. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is produced and directed by Jaime Del Valle. Join us again next week at the same time when from Hollywood, Edmund O'Brien returns in another transcribed adventure of
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Crime goes down for the count on Friday night with two of CBS's top thrillers, Broadway is My Beat and Up for Parole, heard over most of these same CBS stations. The Gay White Way is the scene for many an exciting criminal chase with Danny Clover on Broadway is My Beat. In the actual files of parole boards across America come the stories of men and women who are up for parole. For a thrill and a chill, Broadway is My Beat and Up for Parole fill the bill. This is CBS, where you thrill to gangbusters every Saturday night, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. Well, it's actually pretty rare to hear an episode with so many of the staples of the character acting community. We got to hear actually from two actors who appear on other shows. You had Wally Mayer from Let George Do It and Harry Bartell from Sherlock Holmes. Plus, you have Stacey Harris, which we heard in so many programs. I was kind of thinking in that scene where Johnny was working over the vet character, I was thinking of all the times that Harris played toughs who were being interrogated by the police on Dragnet. And I was thinking, it would have been a lot shorter if Joe Friday had tried that, but not that type of show or character. Obviously, as a hard-boiled detective, that's actually part of the way that Johnny operates. I also liked the scene where he excused himself for the fight. He stopped everybody so he could say goodbye, and then he left to leave them squabbling. So another interesting show in the books. All right, well, before we've got one more comment. I do want to remind you, as you make your travel plans, remember and keep in mind Johnny Dollar Air, JohnnyDollarAir.com. Make them your first stop for travel. You have the flexibility to either name your own price or to choose from great public specials. Go to JohnnyDollarAir.com. All right, well, I reviewed another show, and we're going to do. I've added Bishop and the Gargoyle. It's actually just kind of an interesting, quirky show. I don't think it had much of a broadcast live. So we've definitely added that. I have to be clear. I've been going through the list of shows that I'm listening to in alphabetical order. And I keep ending up, I think, listening to too many of the obscure shows, and I've almost become an expert on that. Bishop and the Gargoyle added to our yes list. Now a simple comment from Podcast Alley. Keep up the good work, Adam. Thank you so much. And remember, when you cast your vote on Podcast Alley this month, be sure to mark your preference of Candy versus Nero. Go to podcastalley.greatdetectives.net. Send your emails to box13@greatdetectives.net, and you can always follow us over on Twitter at Radio Detectives. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off and wishing you a great Labor Day weekend.